Hi gang, the Joy of Football podcast comes to its second and last preview stage of the 2025-26 season.
Well, we had parts 1 and 2 last time, so we've got part 3. We're pretty logical people, really. We've got Leeds, newly promoted, of course, champions of the Championship. Liverpool, champions of the Premier League. Manchester City, who took all before them for 4 seasons before that. Manchester United, who are expected to win the title every time they play. And Newcastle United, interesting times there.
Martin then interrupts that with this letter from the gantry, which this week celebrates a former Manchester United great.
And then part 4 to wrap up our Premier preview. Nottingham Forest, now in the Europa League. Sunderland up again to get another crack at the Premier League. Spurs, winners, of course, of the Europa League last season, and now in the Champions League, new manager as well. West Ham United, trying to get going under Graham Potter. And Wolverhampton Wanderers.
We were going to have some feedback, but we just talked too long, so we cut that. And what we have got this week instead is we're starting, as we keep getting told to do, to put unique extra stuff on the Patreon. So go to that. Remember, the Patreon, you can get closer to us. And we are just discussing something that for the intense viewers that we think you'll like, and we certainly do. So go to the Patreon. Don't forget, if you like the podcast, subscribe, and you can also read us on substack.com, where Martin's letters and my rants are available in letters. The Joy of Football podcast with me, Neil Barnett.
And with me, Martin Tyler.
Looks for Xavi! Rooney! Aguero!
The Joy of Football. Hello, the Joy of Football podcast with Martin Tyler, the greatest commentator in the world, and me, Neil Barnett, who's spent a lifetime supporting and half a lifetime working with what FIFA recognises as the greatest team in the world, Martin. Chelsea.
The current world champions.
Right, we're not going to waste any time today. We're starting off with the Premier Preview Part 3. 5 clubs, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Newcastle. So first of all, Leeds. Last season, champions of the Championship on goal difference from Burnley, both 100 points. They needed a stoppage time goal at relegated Plymouth, however, to win that trophy, but did win it as a result of winning their last 6 matches. In the FA Cup, they got to the 4th round, lost 2-0 at home to Millwall. I'm glad I wasn't in the crowd that day. I wouldn't have known who I wanted to lose most. And in the Carabao Cup, they got to the 2nd round and lost 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. So it really was just EFL season for them. Departures this summer include Rasmus Christensen, the right back, £5.2 million to Eintracht Frankfurt. Maximilian Wöber, the central defender, free to Werder Bremen. Junior Firpo, the left back, free to Real Betis. And I've seen him. I thought he was a good player. I'm quite surprised at that.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a dispute, I think. He wanted to go away, and in the end, I think he got his wishes.
Recruits include Lucas Perry, goalkeeper from Lyon, €15 million. A huge central defender, Jakob Biel, €17.5 million from Udinese. A tall central defender, Sebastian Bornau, €6 million from Wolfsburg. Left back, Sweden's Gabriel Gudmundsson, €11.5 million from Lille. Sean Longstaff, £12 million from Newcastle. Anton Stack, midfielder from Hoffenheim, €20 million. And Jack Harrison is back at the club after a 2-year loan to Everton. Forward Lucas Mecha, former Manchester City youngster, free from Wolfsburg. A lot of signings.
Well, first of all, we are now talking in the week when the season is going to start. And that puts a spring in everyone's step. And all these years, I've been lucky enough to follow football and be around football in all sorts of capacities. First of all, as a young fan, it's just a special time when you've been suffering a bit, missing. We've had a lot of football in the summer, so we haven't suffered too much. But to get back to our English game is always a thrill. And for me personally, getting back to Leeds after my time at Yorkshire Television, when Leeds, of course, were the primary club in Yorkshire, and they would claim to be the same now. But that was a golden period for them when they were winning trophies, providing England with a manager, and recognised as arch competitors, not always everyone's favourite team, not yours, Neil, I understand that. There's some interesting things in there. I mean, the Jack Harrison thing, what's going to happen to him? 2 years, you'd almost forgotten that he still belonged to Leeds, really. But he's got a chance to be part of a Premier League setup again at Elland Road. I'm also interested in Gabriel Goodmanson, who I've seen play a little bit for Lille, because Junior Firpo, I thought, was an excellent player down the left-hand side from left back, attacking player in particular.
Former Barcelona.
Yeah, and he's gone. So that's their big boots to fill, so to speak. And Sean Longstaff, perhaps another victim of Newcastle having to balance the books. A regular
understands Premier League football.
Oh, totally, and probably in other circumstances would have played. He played a lot in the Premier League, so they've got somebody who's fit for purpose there, and it just hadn't quite fallen his way last season. And I suppose, like one or two before him, like Elliot Anderson, who's I think is going to have we'll come on to Forest later, but ex Newcastle, who and Longstaff has got a chance. He's a local boy from up there, and I don't think he said too much about his feelings about the move. All we've ever seen from him this season is the fact that he's a fast bowler. He plays cricket in the summer and bowls a heavy ball. Yeah, so
well, it's only an hour down the A1, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. But yes, they've stuttered a bit when they were up under Bielsa, which was very exciting. I remember doing their very first game, which was at Anfield. I think they lost 4-3 in the end. It was whether this team will be so exciting, I'm not so sure. But
there were question marks at the end of the season as to whether they'd even keep their manager, Daniel Farke, because of his questionable record in the Premier League. Thank goodness they have kept him, because he thoroughly deserves to take them in, and it would be ridiculous to change it. I don't want to go into this with too much focus, but I do have a problem. I'd always had a problem with Meslier, the goalkeeper. I don't want to pick on people, but I just never thought he was Premier League quality. Now,
he might not be the goalkeeper.
To be fair, Leeds supporters, whenever I said this, always told me I was wrong. Now, to be fair, Leeds supporters always tell me when I'm wrong anyway, because when I talk about Leeds, because they know what I think of them. But I never thought Meslier looked a goalkeeper, and I couldn't understand why they didn't change him when they were up. Towards the end of the season, they brought in the former Newcastle goalkeeper, Darlow.
Carl Darlow, yeah.
Carl Darlow. And he played the significant games when they finally won the title. Now they've signed this goalkeeper. I don't know if he's going to be the number one from Lille, Lucas Perry. But you need to have a goalkeeper who's going to keep you up. It's just critical. There's talk, I don't think it's happened yet, of Burnley signing Dubravka from Newcastle. I think that would be critical because they've lost Trafford to Manchester City. So I think if Perry's a good goalkeeper, it could be the secret to them staying up.
Well, it's my first game, Leeds v Everton, on the Monday night, so I'll come back and report to you how
on the gantry.
Back on the gantry, and looking forward to it.
What's the gantry like at Elland Road?
Good. Yeah, it's pretty much in the same place as it was when I joined Yorkshire Television back in the mid-1970s. It's been extended, as so many gantries have, but the actual structure is there, and it's a much easier access to it, which I think all commentators, not only those in later life, all commentators appreciate. But you used to have to shin up one of those ladders sheer against the side of the end of the stand. And it was always in public view, so you always got a bit of a jeer and a cheer, more jeers than cheers, I think, when you descended to your position of work. But no, looking forward to it. It's a great place for me to start, and hopefully it's a fine game.
Junction 39, Junction 42.
I'm not stopping at a farm shop.
Junction 42 is the M6, and then the next junction is where you come off for Leeds. Junction 39, so just before you get there, you come off, you go a mile down the road, and you go to Blacker Hall Farm Shop for the restaurant. And that's where you get your
the truth of the matter is the train won't be stopping there. You know?
You go my train.
Yes.
Old man. Leeds this season?
There's so many changes.
Staying up would be
I mean, it's
all that matters.
I think they've got it in them to do that. It's just that when you've got a whole raft of new players. Metcher's interesting because he was brought up in England, born in Germany, brought up in England, and then he got a sniff of the Premier League at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. You're always banging on about Chelsea having these former Manchester City players. Here we've got another one in the Premier League, tall, powerful striker, and his contract had obviously run down in Germany, so he's come back to not the country of his birth, but the country of his growing up, really. So how that fits in, we'll see. He's certainly... I think that the time of Patrick Bamford's gone, hasn't it now? So we'll see. Got to get goals. That's the secret.
Yep.
I know you're talking about you've got to get them.
Goalkeeper and goal scorer. Got to get those right.
Yeah.
Right. Liverpool, champions, of course. But, they were champions with 84 points, the lowest winning Premier League total since Leicester got their 81 in 2015-16. In the Champions League, they went out in the round of 16 on penalties to the ultimate winners, Paris Saint-Germain. In the FA Cup, they went out infamously, in the fourth round, 1-0 at Plymouth. And in the Carabao Cup, of course, they were runners-up to Newcastle, 2-1 at Wembley. Departures include, well, first of all, forever. I still well up. Number 20, tragically, Diogo Jota killed in the car crash. Goalkeeper Kelleher, £12.5 million to Brentford. Right back Alexander Arnold. In the end, £10 million to go before end of contract for the Club World Cup to Real Madrid. Central defender Quansah, £30 million to Bayer Leverkusen. I saw him at the weekend play for Bayer Leverkusen in a pre-season friendly at Stamford Bridge. £30 million. You robbed on Liverpool. Defender Nate Phillips to West Bromwich Albion for £3 million. Winger Diaz to Bayern Munich for £65.5 million. And forward Darwin Núñez to Al Hilal for £46.3 million. Recruits include goalkeeper Giorgio Mamadashvili, €30 million from Valencia. Right wing back Jeremy Frimpong, €34 million from Bayer Leverkusen, and already a Liverpool scorer in the Community Shield. Left back Milos Kerkez, £40 million from Bournemouth. Midfielder Florian Wirtz for a British record, €133 million from Bayer Leverkusen. And centre forward Hugo Ekitike, already a goal scorer in the Community Shield, €90 million from Eintracht Frankfurt.
Well, like you, I'm still trying to come to terms, like the football family is, with the loss of Diogo Jota. It's hard to put that to one side, but the show goes on, and I was a bit surprised. Luis Diaz, I thought, was just a fantastic performer for Liverpool. He's a sort of player that any coach, I would think, would want. He's ambitious. He doesn't hide. He wants to get on the ball, wants to make things happen, makes goals, scores goals. I guess there's been a bit of balancing the books, been a lot of outgoing, as you've mentioned. And I suppose sometimes a player goes that you'd rather keep. But I'll miss covering Liverpool games. I'll miss seeing him because he's just value for money, absolute value for money. I think Bayern have got themselves a deal there. The Community Shield was nip and tuck, wasn't it? Yeah, some people don't even count it as win and loss. I'm the opposite to that. Crystal Palace won the Community Shield. They used the route that's in the conditions of the tournament, a penalty shootout to decide it, and very exciting, a very good game. People making judgments on the new Liverpool already. It's very premature to do that. They're ultra competitive. It's interesting that I didn't realise that it was the lowest winning Premier League total for 9 seasons, and we were talked about how many more points there were at the top because there are so few at the bottom.
But they're underneath the top.
Below them there were some high.
It's the Brightons and the Aston Villas and those kind of clubs that are.
Let me put it this way before you ask me, Neil. Any of the teams that see themselves contenders would settle now for finishing above Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, so much of the way they played, I think, has been defined by Trent Alexander-Arnold. And that will be the first difference. But I mean, Frimpong, ever since he's come on the scene, has been an outstanding player. I think they'll benefit as much as they lose going from Alexander-Arnold to Frimpong. I have a problem with Liverpool. And my problem with Liverpool is that their two best players last season were Old Man Van Dijk and Old Man Salah. And will they be their two best players again this season?
You've already referred to me as an old man by going by train to Leeds, so I don't think those two people...
Well, I had a birthday this weekend, and I'm
happy birthday
than I was
for
last week.
We didn't message you, and we didn't put a post.
No, well, I hope we do the same for mine, which isn't that far away. But I don't think Virgil van Dijk or Mo Salah will be feeling old. They'll be feeling buoyant from their success last season. They've got their new deals, which was an important part of it. And they'll have an important part in helping the younger players get through the tragedy that's befallen the club in the summer. So maybe that comment, if we're still going in the podcast in a year's time, might be more relevant.
Yeah,
I don't see that as a problem.
I said this to you recently on here, that I think when two clubs go into the Community Shield, one will need it more and treat it differently to the other. And I think that was probably the case with Crystal Palace against Liverpool, because obviously they'd never played a Community Shield. And I can remember so many Community Shields, and sometimes the desire to win them was completely different from other times.
Yeah, but they only lost it on penalties, Liverpool.
No, but I'm taking this one stage further now with the whole season. And I think that for a lot of Liverpool senior players this season, the Champions League is going to just have that little bit extra than the Premier League for two reasons. They've now won the Premier League twice, the senior players, in 2020 and 25. They've only won the Champions League once in 2019, and they lost it in 2018 and 2022. And I think that they will feel the desire in those games more than they might feel the desire in the 38 games of the Premier League. And I can see them making more of a fist of the Champions League this season than the Premier League.
Well, my experience at Liverpool, which goes back a long time, is that you win the league first and let the rest take care of itself.
But they've changed. We'll see.
Well, we will see. The one thing, last point on it, Neil, is for somebody I know you admire as a player, Milos Kerkez, that's a big ask for him, because you are the two best attacking fullbacks that we can ever remember seeing, and one's gone to Real Madrid. And is Andy Robertson being eased out? There were signs last season that might be the case. Be careful what you wish for. Sometimes you might have to put up with the odd defensive deficiency caused by age, if you like, but the delivery and the quality in making goals is, as left backs, is second to none. And they look at the stats on assists for both those players in Premier League games. So I think Kerkez I can see why they've signed him. You know, he was very exciting at Bournemouth and was doing that, but you still got to go and do it at Anfield. At Bournemouth, when you win, it's something to be treasured. It's not expected, although they obviously had a very good season last season. But you're playing under far greater pressure as an individual footballer. When you've got your move, you want your move, and now you're there, You've got to go and do it. Now, we've seen plenty of people come through that positively, but we've seen a few not do that. So I wish him well, but I think I'm very grateful as a football watcher to have seen Andy Robertson year after year after year after.
Andy Robertson. He's got years left.
Yeah, but it just seems to me that they see him. And listen, there's a ruthless nature about football at the top level, and in doing that, perhaps I could mention now, we were talking about doing it somewhere else, but Crystal Palace, Dean Henderson, their saviour, that stopped Liverpool when they came in the Shield, has had a wonderful year, climaxing really in winning the FA Cup final. And his coach, Dean Kiley, another Dean, lost his job a couple of weeks ago. Crystal Palace saying they wanted to make change. That felt maybe the goalkeeping department would become a bit complacent. I think that's a decision that any football club can make. It's a tough business, but personally I think Dean Henderson's got a lot to be grateful for to Dean Kiley, and he'll get another job, absolutely, probably even while we're speaking, because he's that good. But I wish Dean Kiley well, and Palace fans, I'm sure, would back up the fact he's done an amazing job, really. He reinvented Dean Henderson, England goalkeeper again, FA Cup winning goalkeeper, Movie Shield hero in both games, the semi-final. He's had a brilliant time, and Dean Kiley's responsible for a lot of that.
Manchester City, last season, first time they haven't won the league since 2020, second time since 2017, 71 points, their lowest tally since before Pep, 2015-16, and then it was 66. Champions League, they only made the playoff round for the round of 16, where they lost 6-3 on aggregate to Real Madrid. FA Cup runners-up, of course, to Crystal Palace. Carabao Cup lost it in the fourth round, 2-1 at Tottenham. Departures include Kyle Walker, £5 million to Burnley. Another right-back, Jan Couto, £25 million to Borussia Dortmund, where he was on loan last season, having never made an appearance for City. Maximo Perrone, 22-year-old defensive midfielder, £11.3 million to Como, after being on loan there last season. And, of course, Kevin De Bruyne at free transfer to Napoli. Recruits include James Trafford, 22-year-old goalkeeper, £27 million from Burnley, to whom they sold him with a clause for matching rights of any other offer if they wanted to repurchase, which is what probably ended Newcastle's interest. Ryan Aït-Nouri, 24-year-old left-back, £31 million from Wolves. 26-year-old Tijani Reinders. Reinders, as in Slay.
Yes. I'm sure he'll get called Reinders and Reinders or whatever, but it is Reinders.
53.5 million euros, Dutch midfielder from Milan. 21-year-old Ryan Cherki, 35 million euros midfielder from Lyon. Sver Nipan, 18 years old midfielder, 14 million euros from Rosenborg. And I don't think we should forget the January window with Manchester City, when they bought centre-backs Vitor Reis from
Hayes.
Hayes.
It's the Rio R, which for some reason City want us to call him that, whereas we wouldn't have called Robinho or Ronaldo.
Vitor Hayes from Palmeiras.
Go with the flow as a commentator.
He came for $49 million. He's now loaned to Girona. These are purchases of Abdulkadir Kushanov from Lens for 39 million euros. Midfielders Nico Gonzalez, 57 million euros from Porto, and Claudia Echeverri, $17 million, plus forward Omar Mamouche for 68 million euros.
Wow. It's a rebuild, isn't it?
Well, it's more than that. It's quite frankly, it's hideous in my mind. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by their players. Mamouche looks a player, but the others, I'm not convinced by. I mean, if Gonzalez had been that good, you wouldn't have signed more holding midfielders, would you?
Which other holding midfielders have they signed? Cherky's certainly not a holding midfielder. Reinders scored a couple of goals at the weekend, so he's a bit more than a holding midfielder.
Maybe they're going to reinvent him.
I think one thing, listen, there's a lot to prove. I have seen some of those players play in the Club World Cup. I certainly think Reinders will be a very good acquisition. And Cherki didn't play particularly well, but I've seen him play in playing for France, and I can see why they've signed him. And Ait Nouri had a great season for Wolves, and has been
not defensively, but yes.
No, but as a wing back. But whether that's going to be his role, we'll let Pep decide that. I do think that it's time we knew the outcome to the Chargers. I hope that will happen during the season. City, of course, absolutely still defending their position and saying that they're absolutely innocent of all charges. We must make that clear.
Casey Palmer will be the player to... League One Doncaster, only promoted at the end of last season, 4-0 winners at Championship Middlesbrough. 4 minutes added on here, it's still Northampton 0, Southampton 1, Northampton weekends.
The back of the net, 2-0 at the break, and it was that way until 6 minutes left when Robbie Gotts hit a low shot past the keeper from 25 yards. Tom Nixon added insult to injury, deep in added on time. Another great finish from the edge of the penalty area. Ian Lawler made a few good saves either half, but Grant McCann made 11 changes tonight, and Doncaster have absolutely outplayed Middlesbrough. Rob Edwards has got big problems here. Rab Vandenberg could be on his way out. Hayden Hackney could be on his way out. How Borough spend that money could be crucial, because on this evidence it's going to be a long old year for the Borough. Borough 0, Doncaster 4.
Posh have pulled one back at Accrington, but they trailed 2-1 on 79. Archie Collins, who has refused a new contract, is on his way out. Has got the goal. Accrington 2, Peterborough United 1. Any sign of a goal at Stoke? Mickey Gray.
Absolutely not, Adrian. We're into the final 10 minutes of the game. Still Stoke 0, Walsall 0, but nobody's really created any opportunities in this football match apart from Jamie Donnelly, the one that hit the crossbar and he shot very early on in the game, 7 minutes into the game. But there's a lot of possession for Stoke City, but they're just not doing anything with it. Their quality in the final third has been really poor. Walsall have just stood their ground. They've been defended very well, clearing the lines. Adoma and Gordon were very lively, but Gordon's gone off the pitch now. There's been a raft of changes in the game, but I don't think anything's going to change. Thank goodness there's going to be penalties and no extra time tonight. Stoke 0, Walsall 0.
Interesting. Mark Robbins, after the win of a derby at the weekend, said the feel of the place is different. Well, not so tonight. Let's go to our TalkSport 2 commentary game. What's happening at Hayes Lane? Sam Ellards.
70 minutes gone, it's still Bromley 1, Ipswich 1. Johnson equalising for Ipswich early in the second half, but Marcus Dinanga, 2 massive chances for Bromley. The first one played through 1-on-1 with the Ipswich goalkeeper. Walton, his shot from close range was saved, should have done better. Then moments later broke free down the right hand side, goes into the box, cuts back on his left foot, goal at his mercy. He shoots, but an incredible goal saving block from Barbrook. Meanwhile for Ipswich, Ogbene, who's been probably Ipswich's best player, has had a shot over from just outside the box. Johnson also having an effort from just outside the box, which went just over. Game is really opened up. There's live commentary on TalkSport 2 with Darren Ambrose, the former Ipswich midfielder, and Jim Proudfoot. 70 gone, Bromley 1, Ipswich 1.
Well, Northampton here pressing and pressing for an equaliser. It's not coming at the moment, Ian Danter.
Northampton 0, Southampton 1 with 2 minutes to go plus added time, and they really are trying to force the issue, but they've just given away a free kick. Jack Perkins going to get a yellow card for a challenge on Ryan Fraser. They've had a really good chance to equalise in the last 5 or 10 minutes. A corner from the right-hand side, left-footed in-swinger, found Michael Forbes on as a substitute, unmarked. About 6 yards out, he headed the ball down into the turf and it bounced over the crossbar. Northampton's best chance of this second half. Tyrese Forner down the left-hand side has been a real devil for Northampton in the second half. There was one cross he put in that was absolutely magnificent and deserves somebody to be on the end of it. He's the man most likely to create something for the Cobblers, but that goal 2 minutes after the restart from Matías Fernandez appears to be sending Southampton through to round 2. Latter stages here. Northampton 0, Southampton 1.
Well, Cobblers giving it a good go, but just can't find the back of the net. They trail 1-0. What's happening at the Hawthorns? TalkSport's Jeff Peters.
It's West Brom 1, Derby 0. Just a few minutes of normal time remaining here. Orna Hegeba with the goal, his first for the club after joining this summer. He's gone off now. Josh Maja has come on. He hasn't played and hadn't had any competitive minutes since January because of injury, and he's come close to getting a second goal. Vickers making another excellent save. He's kept out Price a couple of times, and Johnston and Styles as well, so the margin of victory could be even bigger for the Baggies. But Derby still in this. Lennon Wheeldon, the 19-year-old, on a sub with a powerful header just wide. But if West Brom don't win this, then it will be a real shock, because they have dominated. It's West Brom 1, Derby 0.
Reminder of the early full times in the Carabao Cup first round tonight. Swansea beat Crawley 3-1, Barrow 0, Preston 1, Newport 0, Millwall 1 is a full time, and Stockport beat Crewe 3-1, and the big one, Middlesbrough 0, Doncaster Rovers 4. League One Doncaster, only promoted at the end of last season, 4-0 winners at Championship Middlesbrough. 4 minutes added on here, it's still Northampton 0, Southampton 1. Northampton trying to find the equaliser. What's happening at the CBS Arena? Dave Rowe.
Coventry 1, Luton 0. Coventry should get the job done here. They've had chances for a second goal. Rodoni forcing a brilliant save from keeper Shea from a free kick in the D that Shea got down to his right to tip wide, and then Thomas Asante teeing up Sims on a plate for number 2, and Sims put the shot off target. The frustration for Luton is that they would have gone through with Jerry Yates. The referee had already blown up for a foul on Fanner. Luton would have certainly wanted him to play on, because Yates would have gone through, but the free kick was given and the chance was lost. We're in the 90th minute here. It's Coventry 1, Luton 0.
Another goal at the Valley for TalkSport's Ian Abrahams.
Charlton 3, Stevenage 1. A consolation for the League One side. Ball crossed in from the right-hand side for Lewis Freestone, left completely unmarked to head past Will Mannion in the Charlton goal. Won't make any difference to the result, but it's given Stevenage a goal in front of their fans. Charlton 3, Stevenage 1.
Plymouth holding on, incredible comeback at home park. TalkSport's Lawrence Mora.
Yeah, Plymouth 3, QPR 2. Both sets of players look absolutely out on their feet, and it's been the intensity that the home side have played at in the second half which has turned the game on its head. 2 down at the break. Wiradou headed home. Owen Orseni grabbed a double on his first start for the club, and now we've got players going down with cramp as we head into the final minute of normal time. Will there be a twist in the tail? It's Plymouth 3, QPR 2.
Bradford holding on at Blackburn. John Dunn.
Blackburn 1, Bradford 2. The League One side in front. Their fans are loud and proud to my right-hand side. Struggling to see how Blackburn might get back into this. They are coming forward as we speak, and it's a shot that's pushed onto the bar by Sam Walker. Nearly a commentator's curse, but Blackburn have been so poor in possession, and that's why I don't think they'll score, because when they've come forward, they've given possession away cheaply, and then at the back, they're gifting chances to Bradford. They've not been able to take them. But however, we are going into the closing stages. Blackburn have a corner, and it's Blackburn 1, Bradford 2.
Bradford winning, they're managed by Graham Alexander, a former Burnley Player of the Year. Won't go down well at Burnley's rivals Blackburn this evening. Another goal at Wrexham for Courtney Sweetman, Kirk and Adam Bridge.
Hello. We're into 8 minutes of added time here. Wrexham 2, Hull City 3. James McLean from wide on the left-hand side. Lovely cross, and Ollie Palmer, well, showing Ryan Hardy how to do it. He replaced him as a substitute, and he's nodded it into the back of the net, Courtney.
Yeah, and this has happened for Wrexham on more than one occasion, where from both sides the ball's come in, but the service has been brilliant, but the end product hasn't been good enough. Well, Ollie Palmer at this moment in time has changed that wonderful header. Obviously, he's already got that stature, but still the big jump rises high, uses all those neck muscles, cranes his neck to get even more power on the header, and now the tails are up and they're on the attack again.
They are. 7 minutes of added time remaining here. There are 8 in total as they do get a crossover. Goal! It's a goal! And it's Ollie Palmer again! Would you believe it? The 92nd minute of this game, and from 3-1 down as they entered stoppage time. Wrexham have pulled it round. It's 3 apiece. Ollie Palmer at the double, 2 in 2 minutes. Would you believe it, Courtney Sweetman Kirk?
Well, it's brilliant. All the fans around us are on their feet. I think there was a few fans actually leaving. I bet they're in the concourse trying to find the way back in, to be honest, after they've heard that roar. But to be fair, Wrexham, they've done well since they've made the substitutions. They've looked aggressive. They've got more balls in the box. Hull City, to be honest, they've gone to sleep a little bit. I think 3-1 they thought. Late on, they've won the game, but Wrexham thought otherwise.
Unbelievable finish here. Still 6 minutes of added time to play. Wrexham 3, Hull City 3. It's a throw on the far side for Hull City, who look like they had this game in the bag. They won here back in 2001 in this competition, 3-2. But somehow Wrexham have pulled themselves out the depths here. The introduction of the likes of Windass and Palmer and Jack Marriott as well, and Ryan Barnett down this right-hand side have inspired this Wrexham side, who are on the charge again. And there's going to be a free kick just over halfway. And Wrexham now buoyed, Courtney.
Yeah, they are, and you know, you mentioned Barnett as well in terms of last season. I think in League One he had 9 assists, so you know he's got fantastic dead ball quality. Obviously, Windass is already off the mark in the Championship. They've got quality all around the pitch, Wrexham. There's no doubt about that, and especially with the substitutes they've brought on. And then you can hear the noise now. The fans believe they don't want penalties; they want another goal.
Remember as well, Phil Parkinson changed all 11 of the starting 11 last from Saturday, and they've got themselves back in it. It's a good knockdown again from Palmer into the box that's gathered by Dylan Phillips away to our right-hand side. Full time in the game between Northampton and Southampton. Ian Danter.
Northampton 0, Southampton 1, so the Saints go through courtesy of Matías Fernandez goal 2 minutes inside the second half, but a valiant effort from the League One side under Kevin Nolan, who huffed and puffed and really tried to get themselves level, but just fell short in the end. Northampton 0, Southampton 1.
Lewis O'Brien finds Marriott at the left-hand side of the box by the byline, swings it over and straight out of play. He was in a terrific position to cross that ball over, but it's out for what will be a goal kick away to our right-hand side for Hull. 3-3 here at the racecourse ground. We've still got 4 added minutes, Courtney.
Yeah, and I think obviously you can hear the fans. They're excited, they're buoyant, but also I think there's probably a little bit of frustration as to, you know, for a lot of this second half, where has that been? Where is that aggression in the box to really want to put your body on the line, to get end of these crosses, on the end of the crosses rather been?
Halfway line with, this time, Hughes, who nods it forward down this near side. Out of play for a throw to Wrexham in the right-back position. Let's get to the CBS Arena for a full time from Dave Rowe.
1 Luton 0, not entirely convincing, but the Championship side do go through thanks to a second half goal from Ellis Sims, finishing off hard work by Raphael and Hadji Wright, who teed him up. Luton's best chances came in the first half, both for Woodrow and Nordas off target, and James Shea made a great save in the second half, denying Jack Rodoni. Final score, Coventry 1, Luton 0.
3 minutes to go here, down that right-hand side. Here come Hull again, trying to swing an early ball in. Crooks tries to win it back, but he's beaten to it on this occasion by Lewis O'Brien from deep inside his own half. Sends it forward down that left-hand touchline. Jack Marriott's after it. Hughes will come across, and it's safely away to our right-hand side, into the feet of Dylan Phillips in that Hull goal. Reminder, Adrian Durham will be back with you shortly. We're just bringing you the closing stages here from the racecourse ground on TalkSport. 3 minutes remaining. Here they come with Kamara, this time Hull towards the edge of the penalty area. Left-footed shot, he's bent, and it's just round the right hand upright. Okonkwo was down, and think he may have got a touch because they've got themselves a corner. There's a goal at Fratton Park for Alex Crook.
And maybe this isn't all over. Portsmouth 1, Reading 2. Great moment for the teenager Teo Singer off the bench. He scored from close range. We're into stoppage time. It's Portsmouth 1, Reading 2.
Stoppage time here, corner for Hull down the left-hand side. It's 3-3. Ryan Giles is going to be the player to swing this in. Okonkwo will be under some pressure, you feel, as that's towards Charlie Hughes, who can't get there, and the other substitute, Windass, will bring it out from that far side. He just clips the ball into no man's land, and Dylan Phillips will come to the edge of his penalty area, the Hull goalkeeper, and he will gather the ball and try to set the Tigers on the way again. 2 minutes of added time remaining. Reminder, the sports bar coming up tonight after 10. Your chance to react to tonight's Carabao Cup action. Final 2 minutes, surely one more chance, Courtney.
Yeah, I think there will be, and you see it's obviously kick-started Hull City back into life again. They'll be so frustrated with themselves to relinquish that two-goal lead also so quickly, concede one, but then to do it again immediately.
And here they come again, Andala down this near side, but he's offside. And it will be a free kick for Wrexham just outside their own box. A reminder, Doncaster have got the better of Middlesbrough. 4-0 up at the Riverside today. A win for them. Preston already through. We've heard Southampton through as well. Coventry just about beating Luton to the full-time whistle coming up in our other games. We'll go round to those as those final whistles go. 1 more minute of stoppage time here. We could be heading to penalties. Wrexham 3, Hull City 3. Forward it goes for Wrexham. Trying to go up and win the header that time was at the far side of the penalty area. Ollie Palmer, the man who's dragged them back into this with 2 goals in the first 2 minutes of 8 minutes of stoppage time. 3-1 down. It looked like game over. And actually, Hull had plenty of chances as well. There's been a goal at the Hawthorns for Jeff Peters.
A goal out of nothing. West Brom 1, Derby 1. Derby have equalised with their first shot on target in the 96th minute. Free kick on the left-hand side. Joe Ward, he hasn't played since January, and he's pinged it past everybody into the far corner. Could be heading to penalties here. West Brom 1, Derby 1.
All the drama of the Carabao Cup live on TalkSport. More for you, of course, tomorrow night, as well as that Super Cup game live here on TalkSport 2. We've got about 10, maybe 20 seconds left, you would feel. Maybe there's one more chance in this, as Hull will clear from the edge of their own penalty area. Charlie Hughes quite comfortable, and there is the full-time whistle. So Hull with 3-1 up heading into added time here, but Wrexham have pulled it back to 3-3 and will have penalties soon.
Back there for penalties. Let's get full-time at Home Park. Lawrence Mora.
Finish Plymouth 3, QPR 2. League One Pilgrims have their first win of the season. Tom Cleverley has his first win as Plymouth manager. And they did it the hard way against Championship QPR. Having dominated the first half, they missed an absolute host of chances. They saw Patterson's penalty saved by Nardi, and there was some awful defending, which saw Benny and Colley score for the R's and put them 2 up. Julien Stéphan made 11 changes coming into this game for his team, and second half Plymouth's intensity was just too much for his reserves. Brendan Wiradou headed home number 1. It was 2-2 within 10 minutes of the restart. Owen Oseni acrobatically turning the ball home. That was his first goal for his new club. And Holmeside kept pushing. Oseni then on his first start, who turned the ball home from Watts' pinpoint cross to win it. A big roar at full time. The gloom lifted somewhat at Home Park. What a night's action. Plymouth 3, QPR 2.
Grimsby got a third against Shrewsbury, 3-1. Harrogate pulled one back, but 3-1 down against Lincoln. Wickham, late winner at Orient at Jack Simpson. Own goal, full-time at Fratton, Scott Minto and Alex Crook.
And it's the League One side who go through. Portsmouth 1, Reading 2. The damage done for Championship Pompey, with 2 goals conceded in the space of 4 first-half minutes. Teenager Andre Garcia firing home at the far post on 34 minutes, his first ever senior goal, and that was doubled by the excellent Kelvin Ehibachanam just 4 minutes later. Powerful play on the edge of the area from him, flicking the ball over the head of one Pompey defender and then jinking his way past another before firing into the far corner. It took until the 93rd minute for Pompey to get themselves on the score sheet. It was a big moment though for Teo Singer, the teenage academy product, with a goal on his debut in front of the Fratton end. Not enough though to save John Massinio's men's blushes. It finishes Portsmouth 1, Reading 2. Scott Minto.
Yeah, and well deserved. Well deserved from Reading, you have to say. First half done and dusted, looked very solid defensively, and you mentioned his name, Eti Abachiman. He was definitely the difference, created the first goal, scored the second, and we talked about it, didn't we? Great skill and then composure. And with respect, Portsmouth are never really going to come back into it. John Massinio made 5 substitutions, and they hustled and bustled, but they didn't really create any chances. And that goal coming in the 93rd minute was their first shot on target in the second half. So I think that pretty much says everything. A lot of possession, but Reading very good defensively. A good win for Noel Hunt.
We're going to Wembley, the Reading fans were singing towards the end of the game.
Long way to go.
Portsmouth 1, Reading 2.
I think they're going to Pens, the Hawthorns. Jeff Peters.
They are. West Brom 1, Derby 1. Derby's first shot on target in the 96th minute, producing a dramatic late equaliser. Joe Ward's been out injured since January. He had the free kick, tight angle left-hand side, fired it beyond everyone into the far corner. Smash and grab raid, really. The Baggies dominated. Josh Vickers made a string of fine saves, but was beaten by Norwegian Orne Hegerberg midway through the second half. A first goal for the summer signing. They just couldn't see it through. West Brom 1, Derby 1, penalties to come.
They've gone to penalties at Salford and at Gillingham as well. Both teams have missed one in the Salford shootouts that's ongoing at the Peninsula right now. Salford against Rotherham after a 0-0 draw. Full-time at Ewood, John Dunn.
Blackburn 1, Bradford 2, a fully deserved victory for the League One side, unbeaten at the start of the season. In front after 90 seconds, a sweet volley from Ibo Toure, and then a horrendous error on 4 minutes by debutant 18-year-old goalkeeper Nicholas Mikalski. Gifted Will Swan his first Bradford goal. Blackburn pulled one back just before half-time, but in fairness, they were poor in the second period. couldn't keep possession and never really looked like they would equalise. It's full-time, Blackburn 1, Bradford 2.
Right, let's get to pens at Wrexham. Courtney Sweet, McCurk and Anna Bridge.
James McLean will step up first for the home side against Dylan Phillips in front of a wall of red away to our right-hand side, and beautifully rolls it to his left. The goalkeeper's right, the keeper went the wrong way, and Wrexham off to the perfect start, Courtney.
Yeah, they are, although got to look at the goalkeeper there, and I think he's gone far too early for my liking. I feel like he's already across, diving to his left before McLean's even struck the ball.
Casey Palmer will be the player to step forward for Hull City. Very impressive throughout tonight. Got the assist for the third goal that looks to have put Hull into round 2 for the first time in 5 seasons. There are fans behind the goal with their lights on their phones just waving them to try and distract him as he sets down. Okonkwo will make himself big, both arms stretched in the air. It's right-footed from Casey Palmer, and he puts it low to the keeper's left, and the keeper decided not to move on that occasion.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where obviously if you score it's a good pen, but wasn't necessarily in the corner, so if Okonkwo goes the right way then he probably saves it.
Elliot Lee, scorer of the first goal tonight for Wrexham, about to step forward and take their second penalty. One apiece in the shootout. Dylan Phillips has a fairly decent record when it comes to saving penalties for Rotherham. He won them a shootout against Morecambe, saving a couple of penalties on that occasion. And now he'll face up to the right foot of Elliot Lee away to our right-hand side. The wall of red behind. Lee steps up with a little dummy and then puts it beyond the keeper, who dived the right way. Wasn't too far away. And it's 2-1 to Wrexham, full-time at Charlton in Abrahams.
Charlton 3, Stevenage 1. First half goals from Leeburn and Fuller, academy graduates. 1 in the second from Luke Berry. Freestone's late goal for Stevenage, nothing more than the consolation. Charlton 3, Stevenage 1.
It's been a big night for Joel Ndala, first senior goal on loan from Manchester City, and he will take the second penalty for Hull, who trail in this shootout 2-1 against Wrexham. You're listening to Talk Sport, Carabao Cup first round. More of this drama for you tomorrow night. Other shootouts going on at Gillingham, Salford and the Hawthorns as well. We'll bring you news of those when we can. But here's Ndala from 12 yards. Can Okonkwo be the hero on this occasion? Wrexham leading 2-1. Steps up and he hits the underside of the bar. The keeper went the right way, but there was no need to make the save. It's ricocheted down into the ground and away. And the young man who was having the perfect of nights has had a disastrous ending.
Yeah, it's a shame for him because he played really well in the game. He was confident, wanted to get on the ball, and he's gone for that top left-hand corner, just trying to get it right in the sort of stanchion area. It's probably, you know, a couple of inches too high, and it's ricochets back out.
Here's penalty number 3 for Wrexham, right-footed from Windass. Well, he did it on Saturday, and he's done it again tonight. And Wrexham lead 3-1 in the shootout. Josh Windass, the scorer.
Calm as you like. Really, really small run-up, just a little shuffle of the feet, a couple of steps, and then dispatches it right in the side netting as well, even though the goalkeeper goes the right way. Can't get anywhere near it.
Abu Kamara will step up, another substitute for Hull tonight. These sides met in this competition 21 years ago. Finished 2-2 on the night. Penalty shootout. Wrexham won it. Could they be doing it tonight? They lead 3-1 in the shootout. Third penalty for Hull City. Abu Kamara will step up, arms waving from Okonkwo away to our right-hand side. Left-footed, drills it into the bottom corner. Excellent penalty. Keeper went the wrong way.
Yeah, excellent the way that he opens his body up. That's normally the harder way, to open your body up, to still get the power, to not telegraph the fact that you're going to go that side. Dispatches it really well in the side netting.
Sports Bar coming up after 10 tonight here on TalkSport. Your chance to react to all tonight's Carabao Cup action and some of the big sporting stories of the day. Ollie Palmer, the hero for Wrexham tonight. It was 3-1 at the start of 8 minutes of stoppage time. Within 2 minutes it was 3-3, courtesy of Ollie Palmer, who drills it low and powerful into the bottom right-hand corner as he looks. And Dylan Phillips didn't move, didn't stand a chance, and it's 4-2 to Wrexham.
Yeah, again, a little bit disappointed there with Dylan Phillips, and a couple of times I think he's tried to be, you know, really big, jumping around, moving, trying to be that big presence, but actually there he wasn't set, he couldn't get down quick enough, and he was too busy messing about. And Ollie Palmer just thinks, now I'm going to dispatch this in the bottom right-hand corner.
Ryan Giles has to score for Hull, or it's Wrexham who are heading into round 2 of the Carabao Cup. 5 or 6 steps. We know it'll be left-footed. We know what he can do with his left foot. Doesn't score many goals. On this occasion, though, he does. And he makes it 4-3 to Wrexham as he sends the keeper the wrong way.
Yeah, it's a calm one. Obviously, it's the pressure of that penalty as well, but just coolly slots it, opens his body out to the right-hand side of the keeper who goes the wrong way.
And it's all on Jack Marriott then to win it for Wrexham. They lead 4-3. 5th penalty for the home side. The Red Dragons with a chance to make it into round 2 under their own back and make it a clean sweep of penalties here. Jack Marriott then from 12 yards against Phillips. And as you can tell, he drills it into the corner. Phillips goes the wrong way, and it's Wrexham who win the shootout by 5 penalties to 3. And Courtney, it's Wrexham in round 2.
Yeah, and you know what? Fair play to them, because 90 minutes, 3-1 up, Hull City, they're coasting, they think they're going through. Wrexham had other ideas, specifically Ollie Palmer. And the fact that Barnett's come on as well and done well and provided that assist. I spoke about his quality from crossing, and then there only looked like one winner really after that going to penalties. You see Wrexham are the ones with the impetus, with the confidence, and fair play to them. They've got themselves out of a hole that I probably didn't think they were going to get themselves out of at 90 minutes.
All over here then, Wrexham win the shootout 5-3, and they're into round 2.
Wow, shootouts elsewhere. Wimbledon have won their shootout 4-2 at Gillingham after a 1-1 draw. Rotherham have beaten Salford 3-2 on penalties after a 0-0 draw. There's a shootout ongoing at Stoke after their draw 0-0 with Walsall. Walsall have missed a penalty, but they're still in the middle of that shootout. There's been plenty of missed penalties in the shootout. The Hawthorns. Talk Sports, Jeff Peters.
Yeah, it's West Brom 1, Derby 2 in the shootout. Derby have missed 2 penalties. West Brom have missed 2 penalties. So Jason Malumbi has the chance now to level things up as we head towards sudden death. So Malumbi with this penalty for West Brom. It hits the woodwork but goes in. It's 2-2 after 4 penalties each. So Houtmine scored his for Derby. Jed Wallace was then denied by Vickers, who was terrific in the game, made a string of great saves. Ben Osborne then hit the post for Derby. Josh Madger hit the post for West Brom. Caden Jackson made it 2-0 to Derby in the shootout. Alex Mowat made it 2-1. Then Joe Ward had his effort saved by Wildsmith. Malumbi has just made it 2-2. So we are now at the 5th penalty each. This is Ibu Adams with a penalty for Derby to try and put them back in the lead. It's front of the West Brom fans away to our left. Here's Adams, and he very calmly rolls it right down the middle as the keeper dives to his right-hand side, and it is 3-2 to Derby. It is sudden death. This has to go in. So 5 penalties for Derby. They've scored 3 and missed 2. 4 penalties for West Brom. They missed the first 2. They have scored the last 2. So it's going to be, well, can West Brom stay in the Carabao Cup this season? The man who's stepping up is Carlan Grant. If he scores this, then it will be 3 apiece. If he misses, then Derby will go through. Here's Carlan Grant. It's saved, pushed onto the post, and Derby somehow have got themselves through to the second round of the League Cup. West Brom dominated this game, so many chances. Orna Hegerber put them in front midway through the second half. Vickers made a number of terrific saves. Then in the 96th minute, Joe Ward with a stunning free kick equaliser to take it to penalties, and Derby have gone through on spot kicks in a dramatic end, 3-2.
Oh, you've got to love pens, and there's more in a shootout at Stoke. Mickey Gray.
Yes, it is. The Josh Bonham, the Stoke City goalkeeper, just steps up and he actually wins it for Stoke City. He just blasts it with his laces through the middle of the goal. After we had Louis Baker, he scored a goal with James Matt. He made it 1-0 for Walsall. 2-1 it was to Stoke from Donnelly. And then it was Johnny Stuttle with his right foot. He missed for Walsall. Then it was down to Stoke City yet again. Divine Obama with his left foot. He missed. Tried to play it low into the bottom corner. Aidan Flint stepped up, the experienced centre-half, with his right foot, blasted it into the back of the net. And Junho Bay did exactly the same thing for Stoke to make it 3-3. Jealous, he put the ball in the back of the net. Albert Adoma for Walsall. He took the 5th penalty and needed to score, and he missed his opportunity. Tried to place it low into the bottom left-hand corner, but it's Stoke City who go through to round 2 after the goalkeeper Jack Bonham has blasted the ball into the back of the net. The players are all celebrating after a really poor 90 minutes of football. It's the Championship side that go through to round 2. It's finished here. Stoke City 4, Walsall 3.
More drama to come because Bromley Ipswich has gone to pens as well. We'll go to that in a second. That's on TalkSport 2. Let me round up all the results. Swansea 3, Crawley 1, Barrow 0, Preston 1, Middlesbrough 0, Doncaster 4, the big shot, Newport 0, Millwall 1, Stockport 3, Crewe 1, Accrington 2, Peterborough 1, Blackburn 1, Bradford 2, Blackpool 0, Port Vale 1, Bristol City 2, MK Dons 0, Bristol Rovers 0, Cambridge United 2, Cardiff 2, Swindon 1, Charlton 3, Stevenage 1, Chesterfield 0, Mansfield 2, Coventry 1, Luton 0, Gillingham 1, Wimbledon 1, Wimbledon 1, 4-2 on penalties, Grimsby 3, Shrewsbury 1, Harrogate 1, Lincoln 3, Lane Orient 0, Wickham 1. Let's head straight to that shootout at Bromley. They're 1-0 with Ipswich after 90 minutes. Going to penalties, here's Jim Proudfoot and Darren Ambrose.
George Hurst for Ipswich. Now we welcome listeners from TalkSport just as we're about to take the first penalty in the shootout at Bromley. It's Ipswich going first. They lost the toss. It's in front of the Bromley supporters. George Hurst up against Sam Long, who sank it. Hurst driving in a little bit too centrally, and Long dived to his right, but a relatively comfortable stop.
Yes, it was a comfortable stop. He looked confident, George Hurst. He should have been scoring the equaliser from the penalty spot against Birmingham. But he was equal to it, Long, wasn't he, once again, as he has been all evening. Good save.
So one number 9 is missed. The other number 9 will come forward to take his. Michael Cheek, who, like Hurst, came off the bench during the game, which ended 1-1. Cheek, who was the Golden Boot winner in League 2 last season. Future here still uncertain, but what about the present? Right-footed, great penalty. He sent Walton the wrong way and has rifled it 2/3 of the way up the goal on the left-hand side to make it 1-0 Bromley after 1 penalty apiece.
Brilliant. That's how you take a penalty, Michael Cheek. Full of confidence, assured, sent him the wrong way and blasted it into the top left-hand side as we're looking at it. Brilliant penalty.
Next up, Sammy Schmodics. Well, Schmodics didn't take a penalty in either of the shootouts that Ipswich lost last season. Jack Taylor, the only man featuring today who didn't miss a penalty in either of those shootouts. In fact, he missed one in both. So Schmodics to make this 1-1, stuttering run-up, really good penalty. He committed the goalkeeper and went low into the bottom left-hand corner to make sure that Long went the wrong way. So it's 1-1, but Bromley still have a penalty in hand.
Yeah, brilliant penalty from the substitute, Sammy Schmodics. Again, looked confident. That little stutter run-up sent Long the wrong way, just nestled into the bottom left-hand corner.
So next up for Bromley is Ashley Charles. Charles missed one in the victorious playoff final shootout against Solihull, but has scored one in a shootout since. Stands hands on hips. There's a hush around Bromley and it's saved. He went to the goalkeeper's left. Went the right way, got his hands to it and tips it away. So it's 1-1 after 2 penalties each.
Good save, good save. I think he read it, the run-up. It looked like he was going to go to his right, Wharton's left, and Wharton went early. And if you go early, you've always got a chance. It's good save, Christian Wharton. 1-1, equal penalties.
Ben Johnson took one and scored on each occasion in both of those shootouts last season for Ipswich. Could have had a hat-trick today, scored a good goal and forced 2 really good saves from the goalkeeper. Can Long deny him again in the shootout? No, he can't, because Johnson committed him and he just went pretty much down the middle to score. So 2-1 to Ipswich, with both sides having missed 1 penalty each.
Confident, one of those run-ups where he just walked up to the ball, waited for the goalie Sam Long to commit and put it the other side. He's given it a little bit to the crowd behind the goal. all of them with their iPhone torches out when the Ipswich players are going to take the penalty. They didn't like it though.
Jude Arthur's scored in both of Bromley's last 2 shootouts. The only man playing tonight who did score in each of them. And he's up next for Bromley. And again, the whole place just pauses for a moment, and he side-foots it into the bottom right-hand corner. Don't make a mess of it. It was a lone shout, or words to that effect, from one of the Bromley fans in front of us. He took it really well.
Yeah.
So 2-2, and here comes Ashley Young.
Yeah, he did take it really well. He's had a good game today, Jude Arthurs, as well. Real captain performance from Bromley, and he's topped it up with that penalty.
Ashley Young, the only man playing in this shootout tonight who has played in a League Cup final. And he runs up to take this penalty, and that is probably the best that we've seen so far. No chance for the goalkeeper as he's fired it almost into the top left-hand corner. So it's 3-2 Ipswich. And Odeteo, if he scores, can tie it up.
No doubt about it, Jim. That was the best penalty of the evening. Hit the net before it even touched his foot. It was an incredible strike. Confident as well. The crowd are really trying to play their part behind the goal when Ipswich players are taking it, and rightly so, they should be.
Odeteo up next. He scored his in the shootout against Cambridge last season and does so again here, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way with a brisk shot into the bottom left-hand corner. So we've had 4 penalties each. It's 3-3. We're effectively into sudden death. Here's Chaplin.
Once again, a brilliant penalty. Odeteo, confident, assured, struck it really well with his left foot into the bottom left-hand side as he's looking at it. Sent Christian Wharton the wrong way. Been some great penalties this evening.
In the League Cup defeat last season, Connor Chaplin didn't take a penalty in the shootout, even though he was on the pitch. He's going to take this, a little stutter and a really good penalty, right in front of those Bromley supporters who turn away in dismay as Ipswich convert again. And so now the pressure is on. Pinnock has to score to keep Bromley in it.
Yeah, Mitch Pinnock stepping forward. Another player for Bromley. He's had a good match. Really worked tirelessly. Can he finish it off, top it off with a penalty? Connor Chaplin, another lovely penalty.
So 4-3 Ipswich, and all the pressure is on Mitch Pinnock. He spotted the ball down, the former Kilmarnock man. It's just a 2-pace run-up. The goalkeeper went the right way, but he squeezed it past him. It was the pace that beat Walton, and so it's 4 each after 5 penalties apiece, and now we're in the domain of those that really don't want to take it.
That's certainly it, yes. Every player that's stepped up so far has obviously asked to take the penalty. Now we're on number 6. Players that didn't ask to take the penalty. Ali Al-Hamadi stepping up.
Missed a really good chance to win it for Ipswich in the 4th minute of stoppage time. It's the former Bromley player to put Ipswich's noses in front again. It's a central run-up, and it's saved! Long dives to his left. Poor penalty. Only a couple of feet off the ground, not into the corner. Long denies the former Bromley man, and now Eiffel has the chance to win it.
Yeah, similar to the Ashley Charles one from Bromley, wasn't it? Ali Al-Hamadi, and Sam Long just went early, and if you go early, you've got a chance. It wasn't hit with much power, wasn't too far in the corner. Sam Long just went early, and it was a good save. And now this is it. You score, you win.
This is a big moment. It's Marcus Eiffel to send Bromley through. The cheer tells its own story. It is the biggest win in the club's history. Formed in the 19th century, but tonight, and only tonight, have they beaten a team in the top 3 tiers of English football. They hung on gamely for 90 minutes. They took a first-half lead, a lead that only lasted 9 minutes. It was all Ipswich from that point on. They were able just about to hang on, and then kept their nerve. Eiffel with a towering moment for Bromley in their history. It's finished 1-1 and 5-4 to Bromley on penalties.
Well, Jim, thanks very much. Darren Ambrose, stay with us. What a win for Bromley, and how cool was Eiffel at the end there. He knew he had to score. He knew the opportunity was there to make history. How cool was he from the spot?
You know what, Adrian? He's probably the pick of Bromley's players throughout the game. Everything good, particularly in the first half, went through Marcus, I feel. And I was just confident. When he stepped up, I just felt that he's had the confidence this evening. He's had a good match. If he hits it hard, low, as he did, and as you said, cool, calm, collected, and won the match for Bromley. Maybe didn't deserve it throughout the 90 minutes, but look at you see the support now. You see the joy that they've got, the supporters now. Everyone's taking the cheer from the crowd. Absolutely brilliant evening for Bromley.
What do you say about Ipswich? Knocked out by Wimbledon last season in similar fashion. They've had some other cup embarrassments that we talked about pre-match, and here we go again with Ipswich Town, knocked out first round by a side from League Two.
Yep, here we go again. You're absolutely right, and there's no taking away from it. They're not having a good run, in particular in the cup games throughout the last few seasons. The only positive spin I can try and put on it, that when they lost to Maidstone a couple of years ago, they end up getting promoted, so it was kind of a blessing in disguise. But they won't feel that this evening, the Ipswich players. Kieran McKenna, extremely disappointed. The travelling support of around 300 to 400, Jim said earlier, and he's absolutely right. They've stayed around, they're applauding the team off because they know they have given it full of effort, but they're just on the wrong end of a great night for Bromley.
Well, they've got a bigger challenge in terms of getting back into the Premier League. A quick word on Al Hamadi, who came from Wimbledon, was at Bromley before, as Jim was saying in commentary. He's missed that crucial penalty. Hurst missed the first one, let's not forget, or had it saved. But Al Hamadi kind of hasn't really settled at Ipswich. This was going to be the season for him in the Championship, but this is not good for him, and you wonder what's going to happen to him between now and the end of the window.
No, of course, and look, he missed a good opportunity right at the death as well in the 94th minute that could have won the game in normal time. Then he missed the penalty. Look, sometimes this happens. We know this. We know players this happens to. He's just got to stay confident, try and take every opportunity that comes his way. But who knows where he'll be come the end of the transfer window, and who knows what players might arrive to take his place. All he can do is, when he gets the opportunity, try to impress. Today he worked tirelessly for the team, but in front of goal it didn't quite happen for him, and that topped it off with the penalty miss at the end.
Darren, thanks very much. So Ipswich knocked out. Let me finish off the full times for you. I told you half of them earlier before the shootout at Bromley. The other half, Southampton won 1-0 here at Northampton. Mateus Fernandes, brilliant goal just after half-time. Oxford 1, Colchester 0. Plymouth 3, QPR 2. Plymouth came from 2 down. Portsmouth 1, Reading 2. That's League 1 beating Championship. Salford 0, Rotherham 0. Rotherham beating Salford 3-2 on pens. Stoke 0, Walsall 0. Stoke 1, 4-3 on penalties. Tranmere Burton was postponed because of a power outage. Watford 1, Norwich 2. West Brom 1, Derby 1. Derby 1, 3-2 on penalties. Wigan 1, Notts County 0. Wrexham 3, Hull City 3. We heard it live on TalkSport. Wrexham 5-3 winners on penalties, and you just heard it at Hayes Road. Bromley 1, Ipswich 1. Bromley winning 5-4 on penalties. You've got to love the Carabao Cup early rounds where they go straight to penalties. If it's level after 90 minutes, you are guaranteed drama. Taking your calls next, it's the Sports Bar on TalkSport. 03717 223344.
Your weeknight Grassy Knoll to Grassy Knees Football Conspiracy Kick-Off. Kick-Off on TalkSport with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
Tradespeople, fixers, makers and doers of the undone. Anyone who knows their way around a toolbox. With Seeker on your side, there's no detail too small and tricky. No design too grand and no mission too impossible. With a range of products for every job and quality you can count on, nothing can stand in your way. Not even the length of this ad break. So can someone stick the tunes back on? Seeker, bring it on.
Have you ever wondered what becoming a lotto millionaire sounds like?
You want to sit down? I can confirm that you have won one.
Whether you're a front row, Bromley, Doncaster.
Here we go with the main event of the evening.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Record Breaking Sports. We're here on TalkSport with me, your host Jason Keller, joined by the Arsenal legend that is Mr. Perry Groves.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Give me shivers.
We're going to start with Alexander Isak, who has told Newcastle he won't play for them ever again if he doesn't get his move
to Liverpool this summer. Newcastle fans, is there any way back for him if that move doesn't go through? Methinks not. Liverpool fans, do you want a player like that? Or do you like I probably feel you feel? You don't care if you score goals. What do you think? 03717 223344 elsewhere. The Carabao Cup is back and we've seen some huge results. Ipswich out, they lose on pens to League 2. Bromley, Doncaster smash Middlesbrough 4-0 and Wrexham go through on pens against Hull, and we bring you all the fallout from those games throughout the show. You've been to a game? Pick up the phone and tell us about it. 03717 223344. We've also got the midnight train. No sport, no politics, no religion, nothing too serious. That's around about midnight, as you can guess by the name of it. And we'll also be discussing the future of Palace midfielder Ibrahim Eze after Spurs join the race for his signature this summer. You know what to do. We cannot do the show without you. Pick up the phone and get involved. 03717 223344. It's the Sports Bar live here on TalkSport. Good evening, one. Good evening, all. Good evening, Mr. Perry Groves.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
In your short shorts.
My short shorts.
Like Nigel's on.
Do you know what, mate? If you can't get the shorts and legs out in a day like this, when can you? That's what I say.
I had a dilemma.
Did you?
I was thinking of the short shorts with
Right.
like ginger hairy legs and whatnot.
Right, okay.
I thought, can I go to work in shorts? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what?
I think it's more old school. I think I wouldn't feel quite right.
No?
No.
No, you're a bit more professional. Am I being unprofessional getting the legs out?
No, it all depends how you feel, how comfortable you are.
I do. Do you know there's a photograph, Perry, of you and me, or you might have seen it. It's obvious it's very, very old when you're at Arsenal, I was at Chelsea. And the shorts...
Obscene.
Oh, my God.
Obscene.
They're like the pants that Kylie Minogue had in Spinning Around.
I don't know why you did the shorts,
Yeah.
right? I did it because I was a size 36. And you couldn't...
But they need that to be lifted, so we're not talking about it anymore. The sooner that happens, the better. And whether that will... I don't know, lift a mood. They're very, if you took at City, they're very positive about the outcome. So we will see. I just feel that it's very hard, the level that we're talking about, you know, the level of football, 4 times title winners in a row. It's never been done in English football before. So to get back, you know, I think we're wrong to expect an instant return to that kind of team.
I totally agree. I think that when you look back, when he took over Manchester City in 2016, I think they came third that season, and they didn't look anywhere near the title. And I can see that happening this season with the build-up to them being the real contenders, the real pep team the following season. I think, has he got 2 years left on his contract? He signed a new contract, wasn't it, for 2 years?
Yeah, he did.
And he said he'd leave at the end of those 2, which can change, obviously. But I think if he wins the league once in those 2 years with this new team, that will be some achievement. And I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't this year. I'd almost be surprised if it was.
Well, I'm looking for a proper full season from Rodri, and we know
he's going to miss the first month.
Yes, but that when they get him right, and he's certainly got the experience, the know-how of the other teams, and for Phil Foden, who by his own admission has been saying when I was in America, he came to Philadelphia. They played a game there and won the game there. He scored. He's now reached 100 goals for Manchester City, which is a ridiculous achievement for a relatively young man who doesn't play as a striker. I think there's a lot of wriggle room for Phil to get back to what he wants. The argument will go on, and whether it's ever an argument face-to-face with Pep, I don't know, where his best position is, where he thinks he is, where City have to play him, choose to play him, want to play him. It's their right, of course. But I think that would be a real plus. You go through all these ins and outs and everything, but Phil Foden back to his best would be a special bonus for City and their fans, and for Phil.
Yeah. And trying to find someone of the success of Diaz at Liverpool on their flanks, which I don't think has ever been refound after the departures of Mahrez and the departure / decline of Sterling. and Grealish for 1 year.
I think Liverpool, Gakpo I like him, and he's a goal-scoring wide player.
Yeah.
And he does it in a different way. He's not just cutting in and bending them into the far corner. Gets into scoring positions. So I think that'll certainly be one way to.
But for City, football's a simple game, but it's not easy.
No, it's a simple game made complicated by those who maybe coach it. I don't know whether that's unfair. That's probably unfair.
There we are. Liverpool and City, not straightforward seasons, we're saying. Manchester United, last season 15th, 42 points, their lowest finish since relegation in 1973-74, their lowest points tally since 1977-78, when it was also 42, but there were only 2 points for a win in that season. Europa League runners-up to Tottenham, FA Cup 5th round, lost on penalties at home to Fulham, Carabao Cup 5th round as well, lost 4-3 at Tottenham. Departures include Victor Lindelof and Christian Eriksen released, Johnny Evans retired, Marcus Rashford on loan, no one, Martin, for a fee. Recruits include Diego Leon, 18-year-old left back from Cerro Porteño in Paraguay for £3.3 million plus £7 million add-ons. Matheus Cunha from Wolves for £62.5 million. Brian Mbeumo from Brentford for £71 million. All to add to January's Lenny Yoro from Lille for €62 million with €8 million add-ons. And now, of course, this week, Benjamin Sesko, €85 million from RB Leipzig.
Well, it will be better than last season. I think that's an absolute certainty. Ruben Amorim has had the proper pre-season to get his points across, get the shape of the team, put players in situations that they're going to encounter week in, week out, because he's not going to change the shape of the team, it seems. Never say never. Coaches have done that before when they seem to be embedded into a way of playing. They've improved the attacking output. Cunha is an exciting player and knows the Premier League now, has done well, and I bow to no one in my admiration of Brian Mbeumo, who has had an astonishing time at Brentford. Again, I make the point I made earlier about Kerkez, is it's all well and good doing it where you get extra applause if you win, because it's not really expected of you. A club that's not really expected to be in the Premier League, and Brentford, they've done brilliantly. But to do it, I've seen players wear that Manchester United shirt before, coming with great reputations, and not been able to handle what goes with it. From all I know about Mbeumo, he will be able to handle it. And Šeško's been up there, everybody's looked at him, not really rushed to sign him, and now he's got his chance. So if he immediately finds that he's efficient and effective in the Premier League, then they'll score plenty more goals than they did last season.
I've seen him in the flesh for Salzburg a couple of times. Yeah. I wouldn't have paid it.
It's a lot of money.
I think there's a lot of, how can I put this in the right way, crap spoken about philosophies and tactics. And I think the most important thing at top level football, by a mile, obviously commitment and attitude, but by a mile, is tempo. And I think the worst thing about Manchester United last season was just how slow they played.
Well, they haven't been playing slow in pre-season.
Well, this is what he's. Yeah. This is what he's. It looks as though he's sorted out, I have to say, and I think he's probably ditched the ones who slowed the team down, and you need to play not far off helter-skelter pace in the Premier League just in order to survive.
There are a couple of good people who are around it. Tom Heaton's still got a contract. Was at the last game of United last season in the Premier League, and we sort of said goodbye to him, and now he's been retained or whatever, and he's still a member of the Premier League squad, but he's playing a big part in helping the young players through the academy, where Darren Fletcher now is all things to these young players. And Johnny Evans has stayed at the club, I believe, after retiring. And these are really, really good people, great football people. And I think that'll be a massive help. And I think those who run Manchester United have shown some nous in bringing these guys in to make the day-to-day football decisions about the development of players.
What would be a good season for United?
Well, to say that doing better than last season is what I normally say when you ask me that question, but they've got to do a bit more than that, I think. But really, we won't know. They won't know. We're sitting here anticipating. I think if you've said that there might be difficulties for say Liverpool and City. Well, why not say a top 4 finish? Maybe even better if they really put it together. That's the fascination of what we're talking about here.
I think a top 4 finish is what would make a good season for United.
Yeah,
you can't expect them to go and win the title after last season. But I'd hate them to do it.
Just remember where Leicester were the season before they won the title.
Well, they were bottom at New Year.
Yeah, exactly.
To survive. Right, finally in this segment, Newcastle. Their last season, 5th, but that was enough to qualify for the Champions League. They were 18 points behind the champions, despite not being in Europe last season, and again failing to break the 70 points barrier, which they've done only twice this century, Martin, with 71 in both 2001-02 and 2022-23, each time finishing 4th. In the FA Cup, they got to the 6th round, but lost at home to Brighton after extra time. And in the Carabao Cup, of course, they were triumphant winners. First trophy for 56 years, first domestic one for 70. Departures include, he has gone, here we go, Dubravka to Burnley, undisclosed fee. Fullback Jamal Lewis, midfielder Isaac Hayden and striker Callum Wilson, all on free transfers. Central defender Lloyd Kelly, only bought, was it a year or 2 years earlier? £20 million to Juventus. Homegrown Sean Longstaff, £12 million to Leeds. Recruits include goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale on loan from Southampton. Winger Anthony Elanga, £55 million from Nottingham Forest. But no centre forward, and it's looking like no Alexander Isak for the first game of the season.
Well, that does, cast a shadow over what Newcastle have been trying to do through their preparations. And you begin to think there's only ever been one player in the last 3 months that doesn't belong to Newcastle. That he's the only one anybody talks about. It's the point I'm trying to make, which I suppose has allowed the others to get on with their jobs. But frustrating for Eddie Howe. These things come out of the blue. I mean, it's a good signing, Elanga. I think he obviously was at Manchester United. He made a good move to Forest. It wasn't one of those players who left Old Trafford and path was downwards. He certainly proved himself again in the Premier League with Forest, so I think they've done well to...
But if you're a Champions League team and you play with wingers, you need 4 wingers in your squad, and Elanga, Murphy, Barnes and Gordon are the 4 wingers.
Yeah.
You probably need 3 centre forwards, and without Isak, I'm not sure there's one.
Well, there's the lad Will Osula, who I thought has got some promise. Made a few first-team appearances last season. And then there's a couple of youngsters. Callum Wilson's gone to West Ham, I don't know whether there was any chance of him staying or what, but he didn't. Obviously, Callum's an absolutely wholehearted bloke and would have wanted to play. Not anyway. He's never throwing in sick notes or anything like that. He was definitely injured. He had some strange injuries, I think, as well. It's a bit of a muddle, and I think a lot of Eddie Howe and his coaching staff and how they've coped with this, whether it's a problem for the whole structure of the club, whether Isak's had his head turned, it seems, and he's saying there have been broken promises. Well, I don't know whether the club have countered those statements, but it is, whatever happens, there's friction there, and it's like a fissure. It's going to turn into an out-and-out break, it seems, but you never know. People have been on the brink of leaving before and sorted out the problems, but I would have thought, from Isak's point of view, he owes Newcastle another year. They've given him a fantastic platform, and if the deal is at the end of the year I can do this, he might say, well, that offer won't be there next year. Well, prove that maybe you get a better offer, because have a season of your life. You've already had one that could be called that. Go and do it again, and that's a measure of a player, to be honest with you.
You mentioned Eddie Howe. You didn't mention a director of football. But I think a director of football, in the case of Newcastle, needs to stand up and explain exactly what's gone on. Because they've done, as a lot of people would call it, a Tottenham this season, where they've been linked with almost everybody. I say a lot of people.
And signed nobody, really. Apart from Elanga, and as you say, Aaron Ramsdale. Yeah. The goalkeeping situation, Dubravka's gone, so that was one in before that one went out. So that's sensible business. That's good. Aaron Ramsdale is pretty highly thought of in the game. I know he's been linked and has played in so many relegation situations, but I have to say there's a lot of admiration for him. But he'd never be short of a club.
But Newcastle, getting into the Champions League, surely should have got more players across the line when they've got to play 8 games before the end of January in the Champions League, where you have to put out your first team. You can't put out your also range.
Yeah, well, the window isn't closed yet, so let's give them the chance to live up to your philosophy.
Yeah.
The director of football, unofficial, Newcastle United, Neil Barnett.
Better than some of their previous things. Right, okay, we'll come back to the final 5 clubs in just a moment. But to give you a break, we go to Martin Tyler's letter from the gantry.
Letter from the gantry.
Thanks, Neil. One gantry I've never been on is that at Brunton Park, the long-time home of Carlisle United. I was heading there once for a midweek cup tie over 20 years ago now. I'd just come off a flight at Newcastle Airport when I got a call to say that the game was off. Attempts to clear the ground from Frost had failed. I remember that Roddy Collins was the manager, brother of Steve, the iconic Irish boxer. When the game was finally played, it wasn't on television, and no other opportunity to commentate at Carlisle has come along my way since. But they now have a giant of the game at the helm in their manager Mark Hughes. I crossed paths recently with Mark, in his 60s now, but still looking as trim and fit as in his playing days. I've actually seen quite a lot of him down the years, starting with an interview for the St and Grevesy Saturday preview programme in Rhuaben, the village in North Wales where he was born and grew up. He was then a teenager who'd already made an impact at Manchester United. I was on duty in 1987 in Prague when he led the Wales attack against the then Czechoslovakia, knowing that straight after the international he would be whisked away to a private plane by his then club Bayern Munich to fly back to Germany for their fixture that very evening. 2 games in one day. Mark Hughes would not have been fazed by that. A couple of years later, when he was back at Manchester United, he was part of the team preparing to face the defending champions Arsenal on the opening day of the 1989-90 season. In the home dressing room, they were introduced to a man described as the new owner at Old Trafford, Michael Knighton. Shortly after those introductions, Knighton himself was in United kit and out on the pitch, doing keepy-uppies and announcing himself to the crowd. Up on the gantry, I'd been alerted that this might happen and covered the pre-game Knighton show for ITV's Saturday afternoon flagship programme World of Sport. United won the game 4-1, and Mark Hughes put them 2-1 up in the 63rd minute. The price for Knighton's intended purchase was just £10 million, but he couldn't stump up the money, though he did spend some time on the board. He left to buy another United, the aforementioned Carlisle, his ownership including a spell of over a year as their manager. Mark Hughes has put himself on that list of Carlisle bosses in February of this year, showing his deep love for football after a playing career for 5 different teams in the Premier League, the old First Division before that, plus Barcelona and Bayern Munich, and a managerial CV including 6 Premier League clubs. Throw in 72 caps for Wales and 5 years as their head coach, and you're looking at one of the game's greatest servants. He was in charge of Queen's Park Rangers on the last day of that 2011-12 season against another club he'd previously managed, Manchester City. Despite relegation being a possible, maybe even probable consequence of defeat, He told me the night before that he'd picked a team, in his own words, to have a right go, which is certainly what QPR did. They led at the Etihad going into added time before Edin Dzeko and Sergio Aguero rewrote history. And defeat didn't mean relegation, thanks to a result elsewhere. This is only Carlisle's second campaign in the National League. 30 years after they had topped the old First Division, after winning the first 3 games of still their only ever season in the top flight, they had dropped out of the Football League. But in 2004-05, they bounced straight back under the management of Paul Simpson. There will be great expectation on Mark Hughes to do exactly the same. Nicknamed Sparky throughout his professional career, his spark is still very much there.
Loved Mark Hughes. Loved Mark Hughes. What a great player he was. Best hold-up player imaginable. Great movement in the days when you didn't talk about movement so much.
Great volleyer as well, which is a terribly difficult skill.
He opened the space. Always opened the space for the talented players as a target man. When he was in his mid plus 30s, he'd gone to Southampton from Chelsea, and he came back for an event. And I said, you say he's looking trim in his 60s. I said, you're looking good. And he said, I'm exactly the same weight as I was in my prime. The unfortunate thing is it's all come off my face and gone on my arse. Love Mark Hughes. I've just looked up Michael Knighton. He's 73 years old. He's retired as a businessman, and he spends his life writing poetry, making art and sculpting.
Yes.
Exactly.
Something he was more suited to, maybe. But he was a youth team player. He was... So for him to go out and juggle the ball on the field wasn't as surprising. It wasn't just somebody from, I don't know, the city or something like that. He, the normal profile of a football club director or certainly a money man. He had been at clubs. I think Everton was one of them. So he had a bit of a football playing background, and that's probably why he thought he could manage Carlisle. But he took over from a very good friend of mine, Mervyn Day, who was a very popular manager of Carlisle United, and that didn't go down well, certainly not in my household anyway.
Letter from the Gantry. Martin Tyler's letters from the Gantry can be read as well on substack.com under the Joy of Football moniker, where his letters and my writing go together as well. Give it a look. Right, we go back to our previews, the final part, the Premier Preview Part 4, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, Tottenham, West Ham and Wolves, the final 5 clubs. Nottingham Forest, Martin, 7th last season to qualify for Europe for the first time since 1995, when they were 3rd. FA Cup semi-final, lost 2-0 to Manchester City, having won through the 4th, 5th and 6th rounds, all on penalty shootouts against Exeter, Ipswich and Brighton. Carabao Cup, just the 2nd round, but to the ultimate winners, Newcastle, on penalties. Departures include backup goalkeeper Matt Turner to Lyon for £6.8 million, and he's since been loaned back to his original club in MLS. Goalkeeper Wayne Hennessy retired. Defender Andrew Omobamidele to Strasbourg for £6.8 million, and left-back Harry Toffolo free to Charlotte in USA. Midfielder Danilo to Botafogo in Brazil for £20 million. Winger Anthony Alanga to Newcastle for £55 million. And winger Ramon Sosa to Palmeiras in Brazil for £10 million, 1 year after buying him for £9.3 million. Too much business. But their recruits include goalkeeper Angus Gunn on a free from Norwich, defender Jair Cunha, $13,500 from Botafogo, forward Igor Jesus, £10 million from Botafogo, Swiss international winger Dan Ndoye, £34 million from Bologna. Actually, that Ndoye I think will be a good replacement for Alanga.
Well, one thing you didn't mention, which I think is a standout stat, they got more than twice the number of points they had the previous season. Nottingham Forest in this finishing 7th. I think it was 32, became 65. which is extraordinary. I don't think it's ever been done before, actually. So lots of optimism because of that. I can tell you about Jair Cunha and Igor Jesus. I saw them play in Philadelphia in the Club World Cup. Jair is a young, composed centre-back who helped shut out Paris Saint-Germain, a game in which Igor Jesus scored the winner, which was a bit of a shock result in the group stage of the Club World Cup. Igor Jesus, a big, strong striker. We have mentioned him before on the podcast, actually. Whether they'll throw him up alongside Chris Wood or whether he'll be an option, a replacement option. And being in Europe is going to test the squad a little bit. Ramon Sosa, you mentioned, I don't think he's settled very well. I seem to remember Nuno telling me that they'd hoped for a bit more from him, but he wasn't particularly comfortable playing in this country. His English wasn't particularly good. So, but that's perhaps an expected change.
They, of course, qualified for the UEFA Conference and have now finished up in the Europa League because Crystal Palace have been demoted to the conference for having the same owners as Lyon when they qualified.
It's quite ironic that Forest have benefited from one of these decisions, having suffered quite a lot from perhaps not quite having the understanding of the protocols in other areas in the past. So points deductions, things like that. So it's going to test them even more. Of course, the Europa League, a higher standard. So I really just think it's amazing. You can't, when you're our age, you can't go back and think about Forest in Europe without going back to the Brian Clough miracles. There was a miracle that they achieved under the great man, and to win what is now the Champions League in consecutive seasons seems more extraordinary now I say it. Here in 2025, all those years, 45 years after it happened.
Don't you think when we're talking about Ruben Amorim and getting Manchester United to play the way he wants, and talking about Pep Guardiola and a new Manchester City and getting them to play the way he wants, that Nottingham Forest under Nuno just look as though they all know what they're doing?
Nuno knows. So, yeah, I mean, when you think of all the hullabaloo at the end of the season, with the owner going down off the touchline, it looked like not everything was happy in the house of Nottingham Forest. And to find where they are now, all those issues seem to have gone. They will accept the bonus of the promotion that they weren't actually entitled to, but for Palace's failure to observe the protocols. So it must be a really exciting time to be a Forest fan, whether they've got the tools to do the job. And that's the joy of here we are now. Everyone's equal, and I know the one thing that always used to keep that equality going was the ability to buy players all the way the season from now till March, when there was an old-fashioned transfer deadline. I do think that makes it harder. So you've got to put your cap on decisions now that otherwise you could perhaps wait a few weeks, because you could do it October, November, whenever suited you, really. So but clubs have had to live with that for a long time. So, yeah, good luck to Forest.
Sunderland. By the way, what a good season for Forest?
A good run in Europe. And playing the same sort of way. They've kept Morgan Gibbs-White, which will be important to the way they play. That was a big drama, wasn't it? So, whether to show that they've got the depth in the squad to compete first and foremost in the Premier League and to have a good run in the more difficult European league they're in now.
Sunderland, promoted after being fourth in the Championship, 14 points behind third-placed Sheffield United, whom they beat in the playoff final, having won against fifth-place Coventry in the semi-final. FA Cup, they went out in the third round, 2-1 at home to Stoke after extra time. In the Carabao Cup, they went out in the second round, 2-0 away to Preston. So they only played their league games plus 2 other matches all season. Departures include Joe Bellingham, brother of Jude, of course, to Borussia Dortmund for £27 million. Tom Watson, £10 million winger to Brighton, who scored the playoff final goal. Recruits include Netherlands under-21s goalkeeper Robin Roefs from God.
Nijmegen,
thank you, for €10.5 million. Defender Ronaldo Mandava from Atletico Madrid on a free. Former West Ham left-back Arthur Masuaku, free from Besiktas. Midfielder Granit Xhaka from Bayer Leverkusen, €15 million. Midfielder Noah Siddiqui from Union Saint-Gilloise, €17 million. Midfielder Enzo Lefebvre, €23 million. Midfielder Habib Diarra from Strasbourg, €35 million. Winger Chemseddine Talbi from Club Brugge, €22.5 million. Forward Simon Adingra, £21 million from Brighton, and centre forward Mark Guéhi on loan from Chelsea.
Mark Guéhi.
Guéhi,
yeah.
Lots of signings.
Well, it had to be, didn't it? Really, they've had this policy of signing young players and almost as a business model, a little bit at a lower level that Chelsea have been doing. Bring them in, get them in your first team, which is easier for a team in the Championship, is in the Premier League, and maybe they'd planned that this would happen. I'm not so sure. They might be a bit ahead of themselves, really. But there's been a lot of thought going into the way Sunderland Football Club is to be run and has been run.
They got the income to pay for it.
Well, I think in the Premier League, your income goes, it's not quite stratospheric, but you know what I mean. And yes, I think the departure, I mean, Joe Bellingham, I think we'd all love to have seen Bellingham play in the Premier League, which we're still waiting to happen. And he clearly, when you say comes from the same stock, it's never quite as literal as this, but that's in the same family. Some of the signings, I mentioned Talbi before. He impressed me when I covered Club Brugge last season. He's a winger with an eye for goal. Dingra's done well in the Premier League. Yeah. And Guéhi has scored half a dozen goals in cup competitions for Chelsea. That's right.
Nothing in the Premier League.
No, but he hasn't had that many opportunities. No. But he wasn't seen, he's still very young. He wasn't seen, it wasn't seen as a barrier to signing Delap.
I think Xhaka
or João Pedro. You know,
Xhaka will give them know-how, and grit.
He's going to be the headmaster, isn't he? You know, on the pitch, he's going to be directing not just the way of playing, but directing the actual individuals. I would imagine into position sometimes, because there's a lot of youthful energy there and a lot of potential. And they really need two or three of those players to suddenly prove that they're not just signed for the future, as they might have been recruited during the course of the season before they knew they were going up, saying, well, we get them in, they'll improve our squad. And they're committed to signing, and the Premier League is now how they've got to solve the issues of not really looking through most of the season, not really looking like a team that was going to go up. So great credit to them. I mean, Coventry, you'd think that they, with Frank Lampard at the helm, that they would maybe edge that one. And then with Sheffield United, with regular up and downness about their history. So it was a bit of a surprise. And Tom Watson became a story, of course, a Sunderland player in his last game for the club. Before the deal had already been done, everybody knew he was going to Brighton. But he kept his eye on the ball, didn't he? Yeah, credit to Tom.
I would say the two highest away ends for supporters in the Premier League are Newcastle and Sunderland. It must be something about the northeast. And of course, if you get the cold winds blowing up there, it's flipping freezing.
No, we can't go into stereotypes on this podcast.
From up there.
I've been there in some very nice weather.
And I've been there in some absolutely appalling weather.
And those who live there will tell you you're right, I'm sure, yeah.
I've seen a couple of games at Sunderland's training ground. Youth reserve games, and I saw one game. You can actually see the North Sea from the training ground. It's high, and you can see
as you could
hills.
From Roker Park, of course, when it was their home. Yeah,
and it's just not the kind of environment you want to practice your football. It's really restricting with the winds and everything. And I saw a Sunderland under 23s, as I think it was in those days, goalkeeper, take a goal kick, and he knew the environment, take a goal kick, and it went out without anybody touching the ball for a corner. Not because he'd passed it sideways, he'd wellied it forward as hard as he could, and the wind had taken it back. And it was, at least couldn't be an own goal if the referee was hot, because you can't score direct from a goal kick, can you? It's an indirect kick. But it does make everything very hard. When Gus Poyet became manager of Sunderland, I said, good luck, mate, because the training ground is such hard work. And he said, no, they've got an indoor setup. All my training is going to be indoors. Don't worry about that.
Well,
I don't think it was.
Moving from the northeast to North London, when Arsene Wenger got the job at Arsenal, and the training ground was being the new. It's not new now, but one of the things
and it was revolutionary.
One of the things that he said was, we've got to get some windbreaks in, and this is in London, because the very point that you're making, that he wants players to be able to trust the pass and not have the elements, but you do play in strong winds from time to time, and so you've got to have that adaptation. We can't spoil the players that have need for no extra technique.
You have to climb up to gantries in your veteran years. I have to climb up to away ends now in mine, and it's challenging, but we'll do it. We'll do it. One other thing about Sunderland, I've said this before, but all these new stadia in England, obviously Tottenham's broken the mould and is an unbelievable stadium. But until Tottenham, for me, Sunderland is the best new stadium in the country, and I think it's a really good stadium, and I think it can really generate atmosphere.
If they get it going, and there's nothing like locals cheering young talent, I mean, it would be nice if there was a few more local players in it, but this is what you have to work with, and I think some of these, like Enzo Lefebvre, for example, that they will be very much fans' favourites, and the players will, I'm sure, embrace the culture as well, because it's not muck and nettles. It's much better than that, but you know what I mean. It takes that kind of spirit. And that's a very important part of football. We talk about tempos and tactics and philosophies. You've got to have some fire in your belly to play football.
Success, survival.
Definitely, yeah.
Right, Tottenham Hotspur. Last season, 17th, 38 points. First time outside the top 8 since 2007-08. Worst position since relegation, bottom in 1976-77 when there were 22 clubs, and worst points total since then. But Europa League winners, and for this they will be in the Champions League. FA Cup, they went out in the 4th round, lost 2-1 away to Aston Villa, having been taken to extra time in the 3rd round away to Tamworth. Carabao Cup semi-final, won 1-0 at home to Liverpool in the first leg, lost 4-0 away in the second. Departures include goalkeeper Fraser Forster and left-back Sergio Reguilon, end of contract. Midfielder Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg, finally £17 million to Champions League Marseille. Legend Song Heung-min, £19.5 million to LAFC. Forward Timo Werner, end of loan, back to RB Leipzig. Recruits include defender Kevin Danso, following loan in last season from Lens for €24 million. Teenage Croatian defender Luka Viskovic, €14 million from Hajduk Split. He had a loan last year with Westerlo. 20-year-old defender Koto Takai from Kawasaki Frontale, £5 million. Midfielder João Palhinha, loan from Bayern Munich. Wide attacker Mohamed Kudus, £54.5 million from West Ham. And forward Mate Tel, following a loan in last season, €35 million.
Well, a big departure, of course, is Ange Postecoglou. The big arrival is Thomas Frank. So I think everything shapes around that. The toing and froing over, because Ange won the trophy finally and did what he said he'd do, always gets the trophy in his second year, and he put up. And he didn't need to shut up at the end because he could shout it from the rooftops, but it didn't keep him in his job.
You talk about Nottingham Forest doubling their points. for Tottenham to go from 5th in Ange's first season to 17th in the second, how do you plummet that much?
Well, injuries are certainly what he would say. Then it became the focus on Europe because they weren't going to get relegated. And 38 points would have been a relegation in seasons in the Premier League in the past. And it's a very paltry total, really. And now we'll see where Thomas Frank, Ange won't be short of a job, that's for sure. And his first year was very exciting, and his second year was successful. So because he got the trophy, so it's not a bad way to bow out, or if you've got to go, it's a kind of good way to describe what you did when you were at Spurs.
You brought up Mbeumo and you brought up Kirchhoff.
Yeah,
they're used to being in clubs where you're not expected to win.
Yes.
Kirkez, yeah, where you're not expected to win. Thomas Frank.
Yeah, well, now it's different. I mean, but he'll get more than 38 points. I don't like doing predictions, but I predict that Tottenham will get more than 38 points this season.
No, they're going down. With the Arsenal.
No, it's just a fascinating thing because it's not. You can imagine Thomas Frank's point of view, the chance to manage in the Champions League. You know, he's been so loyal to Brentford, been such a great representation of the football they play, the type of club that they are. Just a splendid guy, and everyone at Brentford will wish him luck. That's the biggest compliment you can pay him. Everyone wants to shake his hand, thank you for all you've done for this football club, and you're now going to go to a different part of London, and good luck with that. So he's got, he's got the range of Premier League experience, I think, to be able to do it. But it is different. We talk about expectation when you're a player and you go to play for Liverpool. Like Kirkez or Šeško going to play for Man United, but how that's going to, does the shirt weigh heavy? Well, it's the same for managers as well, whether the tracksuit weighs heavy or the Savile Row suit probably. But I think he'll do well. Certainly there'll be nobody in the game who will not want him to do well, except probably Arsenal fans.
Two questions. One on him, Thomas Frank. One of the great achievements of his at Brentford was that he did change the team an awful lot depending on the opposition. He changed the tactics an awful lot depending on the opposition, and he got them playing in numerous different ways in order to frustrate the opposition. He was absolutely brilliant at that. But at a big club, really, the demand is to get them playing in a certain way that they can enforce their game on the opposition. It is a different job, isn't it? And maybe one of those great skills that he perfected at Brentford won't come in so usefully.
I think that's one thing that the elite clubs have to deal with one way or another. And, you're a fan of an elite club, but my view is that winning comes first and that how you do it comes second. So if you win and you're not playing very attractive football, that doesn't guarantee that you keep your job. And I think that's wrong. I mean, I do believe that the results, the achievements of the group, however they do it, if it's more than satisfactory in terms of league position or winning a cup, that you don't have to do it by playing stylish football. Tottenham always have been a club that wants the team to play well, and the fans have accepted not winning trophies until relatively recently, because the team's been very attractive. I can remember when I started in commentating, to get a game at Tottenham in the late 70s, Glenn Hoddles was starting the team through the 80s, where they were winning cups and a European trophy as well. You'd be going, well, it doesn't really matter where they're going to finish in the league, because it's lovely. It's a lovely experience, and I think that's still been carried down. Now, whether Thomas will create that kind of, losing James Maddison is.
Well, this was the other point I was going to bring up. I saw a statistic
that takes some of the potential for style away.
I saw a statistic that surprised me, that thrilled me, really, in a way, is that Tottenham's points accruing was twice the rate when Maddison played to when he didn't play, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, but there weren't many points. So I'm not sure. I did statistics at university.
Hang on, I
don't think you've got a big enough sample here of 38 points.
That's not last season. It's over the last 2 seasons.
Right. Okay. I'll give you that one.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be a huge miss.
He is, but he was taken off quite a lot.
Yeah, he was.
And I did ask you when you told me this that whether these stats include points won when he's still on the field, and if they're 0-0 when he goes off and win 2-0, he shouldn't be getting those points.
How much will Son be missed?
Well, as a player, I think he was sadly a declining force in a team that didn't help him. So, as a person, a huge amount of loss, really. And also for my supporters, my preferred way of going, I live in Surrey, my preferred way of going to commentate on Spurs is to go to local train to Vauxhall, Victoria Line to Seven Sisters and walk a couple of miles, but it's good exercise for those of us who are in our 70s. Yeah, it's a nice walk, but you follow fans and you see the shirts, and I would say there are 10 shirts in every dozen of Spurs with Son on the back. and then I'm not being stereotypical, they're not all South Korean fans or Asian fans. They are people who genuinely see the joy that he's brought to Spurs. So yeah, it is, these things happen. You can't go on forever. He's had a great run, that he was in the team, that he held up the trophy. I think it's probably a good time to go. I'm not sure what other offers he had, whether there were other Premier League teams might have decided that he could still do a job. He's obviously a great commercial signing as well for his genuine popularity. One of the really nice guys. So, yes, in some ways they'll miss him. Tell probably will play in his position. He played in the last season. So, young legs, time catches up.
Yeah. Well, the last left-sided attacker that LAFC signed who had Premier League experience, I think, was Gareth Bale, and he scored the goal that kept them in the MLS Cup.
Did he play on the left side there?
Yeah. He just sort of wandered around wherever he fancied, I think.
He's going to be on the television.
It was his last act.
He's going to be a pundit on one of our football channels, so good luck to him.
Right. Good season for Tottenham?
Well, above 17th is almost it's an essential, isn't it? So I think a good Champions League run. Those nights at White Hart Lane, they were fabulous. And now
I'd say
Stadium,
qualifying from the first 8 games for the knockout stage.
Yeah.
10 games if you have to play in the playoffs.
I would, whatever it is, I hope it is for Thomas Frank's sake, because he deserves a proper crack at this job.
And just getting back in Europe, basically. Right, West Ham. 14th last season, just 43 points. But they're starting their 14th consecutive Premier League season and their 20th in the last 21 years, which for them is good consistency. FA Cup, 3rd round, Aston Villa away, 2-1. Carabao Cup, 3rd round, Liverpool away, 5-1, 2 defeats. Departures include goalkeeper Lucas Fabianski, right back Vladimir Supal, left back Aaron Cresswell, all free agents at the end of contract. Mikel Antonio released. Mohamed Kudus, £54.5 million to Tottenham. Recruits include goalkeeper Mats Hermansson, £18 million from Leicester. Right back Carl Walker-Peters, free from Southampton. Centre back Jean-Claire Todibo, loaned in last season, €38 million. El Hadji Malik Diouf, left back from Slavia Prague, €25 million. And old man Callum Wilson, centre forward, free from Newcastle.
Well, he's not old man in the sense that he hasn't played that many games. There is a theory in football that 500 games is your lot, and I think those who've had injuries, the late, great, good friend of mine, Trevor Francis, expanded me. He had such a long playing career. He started at 16, remember, he was scoring goals from when he was 16. But he had a couple of long-term injuries, a year, out, and his body was able to rebuild. It's almost as if he had 3 careers spread over one lifetime, you know. So I think and Callum will not lack ambition. It's sad about Michail Antonio. I don't know that anything's changed. His contract was up, and of course he had the car crash at the back end of last year or the beginning of this year, and whether in the end they might give him another chance. I know he's been rehabbed and looked after by West Ham. So if it's to the end, he's been a great servant to them.
And the highest scorer in the Premier League.
Yeah, and you know, good enough to play as a forward in the Premier League when he basically wasn't a forward till later in his career. Remember, he got into the England squad as a right wing back. Yeah, and he was a winger really before that. Kudus is an interesting one. We didn't mention him with Tottenham, actually. We probably should have done, because he is...
You're more of a fan than me.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. And
he is.
He lifts people off their seats,
Yep.
and then goes and sits on the perimeter fencing when he scores.
Two in 5, 2 in 6 games. He's good.
Well, here's his chance to prove that at Spurs that he's better than that. But I think a loss for West Ham, personally. But they've got Jared Bowen, who is just a wonderful leader for them, a really fine player. Sometimes I think undervalued as a player, doesn't always look the part. But goodness me, every time I've covered West Ham, he's been absolutely superb. And when he hasn't played, West Ham haven't been superb. So, so he's really important. The goalkeeper, I think, is a good signing. You know, he's a tough time from Leicester, but has shown that he's, I think he's ready to play again in the Premier League. So maybe Areola's, maybe he'll compete and get that and keep the job. But Fabianski, a great servant for football in Britain, and again, time catching up with him, but I think he's done a lot better. Flap hands, or whatever they used to call him at Arsenal. I think
he's been terrific.
He's come a long way from that. Long way.
Yeah. Good season for West Ham.
Better than 43 points, I guess, and a few more games in the cup competitions than they had last season.
I think West Ham are going to struggle. There you go. I think West Ham. I think the promoted clubs will be looking at West Ham as one of the ones they want to target. I think they're going to struggle.
Well, for Graham
I'm
Potter,
not saying they're going to go down.
Yeah, Graham Potter has had his time now. Everybody said, well, it wasn't his team. He's got to have a pre-season. They're not actually bulging with impressive new recruits. I like Kyle Walker-Peters. I think he's a fine player.
He's a Premier League player.
Yeah, he's a Premier League player, and he's back in London and now can play for West Ham against Tottenham rather than Tottenham against West Ham.
And finally, Wolverhampton Wanderers, last season 16th, 42 points below Manchester United on goal difference. FA Cup got to the 5th round away to Bournemouth, lost on penalties. Carabao Cup 3rd round, lost away to Brighton 3-2. Departures include left-back Ryan Aït-Nouri, £31 million to Manchester City. Wingers Gonzalo Guedes, £3.5 million to Real Sociedad. And Pablo Sarabia, free transfer. Forward Matheus Cunha, £62.5 million to Manchester United. Recruits include left-back David Moller, Wolf, £10 million from AZ Alkmaar, unless you're listening or watching in the States, in which case it's AZ Alkmaar. Winger Jean Arias, €15 million from Fluminense. Forward Fer Lopez, €22 million from Celta Vigo. Centre forward Jürgen Strand Larsen, who of course was on loan last season, €26.5 million from Celta Vigo.
Well, it's good that they've kept him. I mean, Cunha...
He's quite a good player, isn't he?
Well, he is, and in a way that we've talked about, there aren't that many of this type around, you know. He's a Chris Wood type of player. And just to refer back to what we said long time ago now, really, that his thrill at reaching 10 Premier League goals, running around to the crowd, holding up both hands, I thought that was great. I love strikers who know what they're job is to be in the team, not to fanny about on the halfway line and get in the box and score goals, and realise that if they don't, probably nobody else will. So it's but Cunha has been a standout for them, and it has been the case. You've mentioned it a few times, Neil, that one usually has to go. And this one, of course, it's not just one. It's Aït-Nouri as well. He was instrumental in a number of goals. Guedes didn't quite do it. He had a decent track record back in Portugal. He played in Spain, of course, now. And Sarabia was maybe coming towards the end of his career. I think he wanted to move, but he was always somebody. He scored a wonderful goal against Chelsea. Was it against Chelsea? He scored
I'm not sure. Quite possibly, but funny enough, do you know, Sarabia first came into my conscience. I ended up at Paris Saint-Germain versus Real Madrid in the Champions League.
As you do.
Yeah, well, it was my work. And in 2019, and he played on the right wing for PSG, and PSG beat Real Madrid 3-0. You try getting interviews from English-speaking Real Madrid players after they lost 3-0 at PSG.
But Sarabia was not much more than an impact player, really.
But he played the whole game, and he was outstanding.
Yeah. But the manager's done.
Can I just say thank you to Idrissa Gueye, most well known in England, of course, for Everton.
Yeah.
He was in the PSG team that day, and he gave me my post-match interviews.
Well, there you go. When I see him on Elland Road, I'll say Neil, and when his eyebrows go back over the back of his head, I'll try and get a selfie for you. But the changing coach did wonders for them as well.
But it tailed off again after the first impact of buying pints around the city of Wolverhampton. I think they're the same as West Ham. I think they're going to struggle this season.
I thought you wanted to manage Chelsea so they could buy pints. Mind you, he couldn't afford the ones down by the Chelsea ground.
You're absolutely
They're 8
right.
times the ones in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, especially after my pre-match meal this weekend. I think they're going to struggle.
Well, there are the elite who expect, of which it is expected, shall we say, and the rest, and Wolves amongst the rest, and only 3 go down. So there's a lot to play for. There are plenty of clubs we've talked about over this 2 podcast episode for whom getting to the points that mean survival will be the top thing. What that points tally is now, I don't know, but it's not 40 anymore, which used to be what was said. So,
I mean, I look at Wolves and I just think, flipping heck, Nuno Espirito Santo got you into Europe, and now he's got Nottingham Forest into Europe. And I just look at him and I think, you're someone special, and they got rid of you.
And he was
Idiots.
a goalkeeper, which gives no credence to the fact that the goalkeepers don't understand the game. They don't have to. But and there haven't been very many goalkeeping coaches in the Premier League, but Nuno's a decent keeper and a very, very decent coach. He got a presence about him, a massive presence. He's a big man.
I've always enjoyed Molineux. I hope they do well.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think they'll go down, but I think they'll struggle.
No, but they'll be one of those trying to clock up the point. Honestly, Neil, the more I look at it and the more detail it goes into planning for each team on every game, to win a Premier League game is a feat in itself, especially if you're not amongst those who are blessed with the biggest budget and the special players. And your job is perhaps to nullify the special players because you haven't quite got anybody of that ilk in your squad. And that goes for a good number of teams, just to win games. And you see the tension and the relaxation for a little while for the coaches who have won the game, who are not perhaps expected to win that game, or have worked tooth and nail through maybe a busy week where they haven't had the chance to get on the training ground every day to get the detail right to win a game. The more I do this job, the more massively I'm impressed by what football has become. It's not, I mean, whether it's as entertaining as it used to be is certainly a matter for debate, but the way it's constructed, the way the industry demands, the way the job insecurity is there, all these things that never happened before, you have to be tough. You have to be very, very tough to do it. And as somebody who's been involved in dugouts in non-league football, it taught me very early on I would never have that toughness. That's why I'm such admiration for them all, you know.
Can I tell you what all the previewers on regular television and what have you have done wrong? this summer. They've given us their top 4 because that is the standard thing to do, because it's been 4 teams entering the Champions League since 2003. They should be giving us their top 5, because that is what it will be again, almost certainly next season, with Premier League clubs having 5 this season in. It should be that next season as well. And
it'll be criticised for taking things for granted, Neil, if we do that. You know,
well, I'm going to take them for granted on our Patreon.
Okay.
From Martin and me.
See you next time.
Ta-ra. So we're ready for this season now. That's our previews, but you can get closer to some of our thinking.
They need
on
that.
Welcome to the Athletic FC podcast.
We're talking
We've
about it
done
anymore.
some extra stuff.
The sooner that happens, the better. And whether that will, I don't know, lift a mood. They're very, if you took at City, they're very positive about the outcome. So we will see. I just feel that it's very hard, the level that we're talking about, you know, the level of football, 4 times title winners in a row. It's never been done in English football before. So to get back, you know, I think we're wrong to expect an instant return to that kind of team.
I totally agree. Hi, gang. On the
I think these might be my most shocking Premier League predictions. I'm just going to go for it with this one. I'm going to go with my gut. Hopefully you guys will understand it and hopefully you won't hate me forever. That's the dream here. Let's get straight into it with the teams down the bottom. We're going to go from 20th up to first spot, and there are some shocks in there. Let's kick off 20th position, and I changed this last night because I think the teams that are newly promoted will actually do quite well, but Burnley will be my team in 20th spot. There's a few things that I've got a problem with, and just to be clear, I will contradict myself throughout this video. But when it comes to Burnley, I like the defensive side of them. I like the reinforcements that they've brought in overall, and I get what they're doing. Kyle Walker, especially if you kind of go to a back 3 out of possession, that's a really clever signing. This guy's an England international. Yeah, he might have lost a little bit of a yard, but he's still got so much experience, and he's going to obviously help the group. And in a back 3, he's a really, really good signing. Dubravka I like as well, in terms of bringing that bit of experience into the team as well. But then you've got a few risky ones, which I appreciate why they're being done. I don't think it's the worst idea. Ogachukwu, big money for these players, by the way. But you've brought him in. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of sell-on value. You've got Humphreys, another Chelsea player. Hartman, not crazy amount of money. I actually like him as that left-back option. And a couple of guys you might remember from previous years. Marcus Edwards, who came in January. Jaden Anthony. Zion Fleming, who's got to make that step up, but has got a free kick that will go in for him. So there are positives in this side. Twanzebe, who feels like this generation's player that teams that get relegated sign. And I mean that with the greatest respect. You're getting, you know, you're top 1% of the top 1%. But it's Brozier. And it's the goals. You lose someone like Josh Brownhill. Like, if we look at the stats for them from last year. I'm on FootMob, by the way. If you want to check out FootMob, I've been really enjoying it this summer. It's gone to a new level. It's got the running stats this year as well. I'm going to be using it for this video. So if you do want to get involved with it, links in the description. It's really, really useful and amazing for this video. So Josh Brownhill, 18 goals, 24 goals and assists. James Trafford, another player who's been lost. And so there is that change. In terms of building on last season, I do like the new signings, but to lose some of those guys, it just feels like a problem. And in terms of Brozier, I was looking at how his sort of player traits and how he's able to kind of come into this team. And I get, like, on the face of it, I like the idea of Brozier. I do. But when you look at his shot map from previous years, we're going back and hoping that he can be the guy he was for Southampton when he burst on the scene. And of course, he was very young at this point. And overall, his overall hold-up play was really, really strong. And he scored 6 goals. So he wasn't outrageously prolific at that moment, translate that. But if we look at last season, I just can't really get away from this. I'm really, really struggling to get away from what he was able to do last season. It was so minimal. And his rankings are really, really poor. Now, you're taking a risk. I appreciate that. And actually, I'm okay with that. The problem I have is I can't guarantee that he's going to be fit. And I think the pressure is really on him from a forwards point of view. So he has all the tools, but we've not seen them recently. and he hasn't been able to stay fit really either. And so because of that, despite having solid defense, and I don't think they'll be out of games a lot of the time, my fear is they won't be able to secure enough points. That centre midfield doesn't look like it's got enough creativity there for me. And yeah, sadly, other teams have strengthened just that little bit too much. So Burnley will finish 20th. But with all of these, of course, I could be wrong. Next up in 19th spot, I'm going to have to go for Leeds. I was flirting with Leeds in 20th or 19th. And again, I think it's really cruel what I'm doing here because I don't think there's many bad teams this year. And in terms of building on from last season, a team that dominated the league, that is one thing. It's that sort of shift in style that you're going to have to see for any of these teams coming up. The ability to kind of go from a team that utterly dominated the opposition. Can you get enough killer instinct from these players? And the big thing for me, again, it's going to be the goals. Joel Perreault, maybe he's ready to make that step up. In terms of that creativity behind him, I really like the addition of Stack. He looks really, really good. I think he's going to be absolutely excellent for them. And the midfield looks like it's got some steel to it. But in terms of that true creativity, I'm not really seeing it in the attacking areas right now. And then alongside that, I just think the size of Leeds is such a huge club. And I think that actually makes life a little bit harder for them. I think they're going to struggle to progress the ball up the pitch. And I just feel like the Farke feeling is not totally right. And I think all of those things put together, yes, money's been spent on a lot of big lads, and that might keep you in games. But I just fear that Gnonto won't be able to be as dominant in terms of his dribbles. The overall kind of guy who can unlock a defense is not there at the moment. That's why they're linked with the likes of El Khanous. And I just don't see the goals. Of course, they're in the market for a forward. And I think the next couple of weeks are going to be absolutely crucial for them, because if they don't, I think, again, it might be one where they're like them and Burnley, kind of sturdy-ish teams, but just not enough going forward to get the goals. And the last team that I believe will get relegated this season is not a newly promoted team. I think that it will be Wolves that go down this season. I feel like the investment in the team has not been strong enough, and I feel like everyone else is going for it. So I think it's all going to get squished together a lot better than it has done in the last couple of years with those newly promoted teams. And of the other sides, if you're thinking of Matheus Cunha going and Ait Nouri, they are huge players. That's 55% of your goals. And I think they've just been that little bit too timid. And I think teams have turned them down, which has been a problem for a few teams in the Premier League this season. And so to bring in Fer Lopez and Arias, that for me is not enough. Now, last season, I said that, look, the opening fixtures are so tough. So that's going to make life really, really difficult for you. So stick with them. This year, this is where I might be totally wrong. It's actually not too bad. Man City opening day, of course, that's not an easy one. But after that, Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, who knows what sort of state they're going to be in at that point, Leeds, Tottenham, Brighton. Now, there are many easy Premier League fixtures, but it's certainly not as devastating as it was last season. So to continue the confident start that Pereira had on the back end of last season, I think there's an opportunity there. There really is an opportunity there. But the players that you brought in Fer Lopez and Arias, I just feel like they won't have the ability to step up. Arias in particular is a really interesting one. I saw a lot of him at the Club World Cup, and we focused on him quite a lot. And what he was a live wire. He was able to kind of go and get the ball. He was the main man, and he's the number 10 for Wolves as well. But the end product of goals, I think he might be a player that could really frustrate Wolves fans if it doesn't come together in the way that he kind of wants it to. As you can see, 90%, top 90% of chances created. So that's great. It's the goals that I'm concerned with. And over the previous seasons, as you can see down here, never been outrageously prolific for the team. There are some solid assists in there as well, and that is where you'll get more from him. But in terms of Matheus Cunha and what he was able to provide in terms of goals and assists, John Arias, it just feels like a massive gamble, and there's not been enough elsewhere in this squad to not take the pressure off Vitor Pereira. I think Vitor Pereira is everything here. He's such a likeable manager, and the fans absolutely love him, but he's not been backed in the transfer window as of yet. And because of that, a couple of injuries, I think Wolves could be in real trouble here. And that burden in terms of scoring goals, you could have João Gomez and Andre, who I really love as a midfield pair, but I don't see them scoring goals. And so someone else has to do that. And can the collective be good enough? I'm just not sure. So those are the bottom three. 17th spot, I am going for Sunderland to sneak out of it just about. They have spent just under 150 million quid in the transfer window, and I don't think they're going to stop, actually. I think they might still add one or two. I was concerned about the centre-back position, but they've actually signed someone today, as I'm recording this, Alderete, who I was looking at his profile. Look at his, in the top 2% for shot attempts for Getafe last season. He seems like an absolute live wire. I think he's guaranteed to give away. Look how many shots he had. Absolutely incredible last season. So expect him to shoot from range, and also expect him to give away a penalty. When I was having a look at him, look, here, penalties conceded, that's a problem. But you've got some additional players that you're bringing into that centre-back line. And for Sunderland to spend that amount of money, I think, as I say, when you're building, when you're going up and you're trying to stay up, this sounds ridiculous, but I've seen the data behind it. If you do spend a solid amount of money on exciting players, then you do give yourself kind of the best chance. You're able to kind of blow yourself out of it. And I think the work that they've done has been really good. Like, some I don't really totally get, like Masuaku. Not sure that's going to really move the needle. But Mark Gui, I think is Gui, I can never say his bloody name. I think it's a really exciting signing. Granit Xhaka will add leadership and calm, and maybe a couple of rockets in there as well in the change room for when it's needed. For him to go there, he must be excited to go and do it. So that's huge. Adingra adds pace. Taubi adds pace as well. Reinildo as well I think he was player of the year for Atletico Madrid a couple of seasons ago. Siddiqui will bring that defensive solidity alongside Xhaka in a midfield three. I think that will start Diarra on the right-hand side. Keep an eye out for Diarra. Really, really exciting player on kind of maybe the right half space, pretty box to box. And then you've got someone like Enzo Lafia coming in. Jaden Dans could help provide some goals for the team as well. I think this is a team that has pace, that has excitement within it as well, and it's got a lot of players that kind of want to prove something. I like the blend that's there. I think there won't be an outrageous amount of pressure on this group as well. And although the back end of last season wasn't great, I think it's almost, it can wash away that amount of kind of constant wins. It's so long ago, and you're stepping into something so different now. You need those reinforcements to kind of go, okay, take me through this. And I think there's a lot of players there that can really make an impact in games, but also lead the group. And I think they could do it this year. One thing that's going to be absolutely crucial, and for me is actually a pressure, is their fixtures. I think their fixtures, their opening fixtures, are absolutely crucial, because as a QPR fan, I remember we had some really, really good opening fixtures, and we didn't win the first 2, 3, 4. And then you go, uh-oh, we don't win soon, we are in big, big, big trouble. And so that can bring some real pressure to a team. So Sunderland opening up against West Ham, Burnley, Brentford, Palace. I don't think you could ask for more from that against those teams that are kind of not totally sure with who they are and how good they are right now. Nottingham Forest, some people are a little bit unsure about them as well. Aston Villa's a tricky one. Man United might still be figuring themselves out. So there's a huge opportunity to collect some points, to get some belief, and from there kind of almost try and stay away from that bottom three. But I think they might just do it. They've certainly spent enough to keep themselves up. In 16th spot, I'm going for Brentford. Such stability over the years, especially in their Premier League era. And I've always kind of been wary of backing them, because the optics are that, it's little old Brentford, don't give them the respect they deserve. And I've always got that wrong. And so, despite Keith Andrews, an absolute rookie, or it feels like a rookie, right, at this Premier League level, stepping into the side, but of course he's come in from within. The loss of Thomas Frank is huge. And then the signings coming in, there's two ways of looking at it. Either you trust Brentford to figure it out, or you look at this and go, I'm not sure. Now, Jordan Henderson, it's about those other elements as much as him as a player. Like, this is still a guy who gets in the England squads. What are the reasons for that? Who knows? But it's probably, more than anything, he's a capable player overall. Maybe he hasn't got the pace anymore. but he's also an incredible leader who keeps the standards high. And when you lose someone like Norgard, you want to bring in someone who's going to help glue it all together. And I think that is why Jordan Henderson has come into this team. And that's something that I think will actually bear fruit more than people want to give it credit for. The spine of the team is pretty strong. Kelleher is a great addition. And we're waiting and hoping, I imagine if you're a Brentford fan, that Van der Berg gets better and better. Carvalho, with the pedigree that he's got, gets better and better. Coyote, I really like the energy that he brings. Put a great cross against QPR in a pre-season friendly. Malambo is a player that maybe this year is not going to be wholeheartedly his year. But you've got Damsgaard, who was great last season. And I think there's a couple of things that people aren't thinking about. You've got Schade, who was fantastic last season, and I think will be really, really strong this season. He'll be the latest in line to continue to progress. And I also think Thiago, no one really knows much about him in terms of him in the Premier League because of the problems that he's had with injury. But he's had a pre-season now, and now I think he could be a really, really strong player for them. So it's one where the overall names don't feel like they're there for Brentford. And because of how well they've done over the years, for me this year, with my gut, I'm going to back them. But I do have reservations, like I imagine most Brentford fans do. What I feel certain of is that the next move is in play. So if Visser does go, they'll use that money and they'll use it wisely. And I think there's a few teams here that I'll go on to talk about that are kind of waiting to spend. And I think they still will do. The next two, I am still up in the air. So I'm going to talk it through with you guys. And then at the end of it, I will make my final call. So the two teams I've got in 14th and 15th are West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Now, at the moment, as I've got it written down, I've got Nottingham Forest in 15th. So let me start off with that. Defensively sound. But of course, European football is an addition this year. The squad is lean. The opening fixtures, I think, will actually really kind of reveal who this team is as well. And I know some people won't think that that matters. I actually think it's quite important to sort of get off to that great start, because then it kind of reveals who you are or the identity that you want to kind of have. Confidence is such a huge part of football. And there is a real opportunity there for them in those opening games. You know, Brentford first up, then Palace, then West Ham, then Arsenal, of course, is a tricky one away. But 12:30 kickoff might be a tricky one for them. Burnley, Sunderland, Newcastle. I quite like those fixtures for Nottingham Forest. But if you get through those and it's not gone great, then there could be some concerns here. It is a World Cup year. So you've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who, for whatever reason, is still at the club. Callum Hudson-Odoi might want to be sort of trying to push for a World Cup spot. Elliot Anderson, it doesn't matter if you believe they can, they will believe that they can. And it is a steady team. I just feel like they're lacking that little bit of depth. And I just can't see how Chris Wood has the same year. And when I look at their forward line, I'm struggling a little bit with them as well. And that's why I've got them a lot lower, obviously, than last season. I thought last season was outstanding. But will they kind of revert to the mean a little bit? And if you look, 20 goals from an XG of 13.4, that is wild. So to ask him to do that again is almost unfair a little bit. You can see it here in terms of his player traits. Absolutely outstanding. Just incredible stuff. And I think the thing to remember when it comes to Nottingham Forest is them as a club. Like, they haven't had a meteoric rise and they've done so well. So it doesn't have to continue to be a solid mid-table team and revert to that. I think we've seen it in the past with teams that have kind of over-exceeded expectation. And I think if they come back into the middle here, in between the two, split the difference, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But I think maybe the pressure of that and the additional games in Europe could maybe tell for them. And that's why I've got them down in 15th. West Ham. Now, West Ham had a pretty solid pre-season, certainly with results. There is a feel, and actually I quite like some of the young players that are coming through as well. You've got Earthy, who I saw last year, actually for Bristol City, I think, against QPR. I was super impressed with him. Thought he was a really good player for them. You've got Skulls at left back, who offers something. Potts as well, who's been playing in pre-season. And then you've got a lot of established footballers. Potts is going to come in, he's going to play that 3-5-2. Diouf has come in on the left-hand side. He looks really exciting as well. Wan-Bissaka and Jarrod Bowen, that works, it fits. Jarrod Bowen is everything for this team, in my opinion, so you need him to stay fit. He'll be up for it in a World Cup year. Can that midfield, I still feel like I'm missing that sort of, there's a Declan Rice-shaped hole in this West Ham team. There's a lack of energy in that midfield. And then up top, it's a risk. And it's a risk that doesn't normally work for West Ham when you think of their team, because, you know, to have Füllkrug and Callum Wilson as your main two, it's risk versus reward. One thing I did want to talk about with Callum Wilson is that, yes, of course, 33. And when you look at his stats, it's not great, right? You know, we looked at his barely played, right? No minutes whatsoever. But of course, he didn't play. So if we go back a season or so and go back again, and go back to 23-24, played that little bit more, right? And here, you know, it's so-so. But when we make it per 90, look at that. Look at the difference there. So, of course, it's risk-reward. But if you can just sort of Füllkrug, Callum Wilson, give them that opportunity and these two can stay fit, massive if, of course, you do have players who have got good movement, are smart strikers who, you know, have a pedigree of scoring goals. And so I like that. I don't think West Ham are as bad as everyone kind of is feeling around them. When it comes to them, though, in terms of getting off to a good start and maybe that feeling around Potter and the club as a whole, which isn't great right now, that could be a problem, because that Sunderland game for me is absolutely everything, because you're going to have a Sunderland team that are just ready to run through a brick wall to beat this West Ham team, with a team with a lot of pace. Can West Ham cope with that? That's what I wonder. Not everyone fits this 3-5-2, by the way. Someone like Somerville, I'm not really sure how he fits in this team. But after that, you've got a London derby. You've got Forest, which will be, you know, tricky because they're solid, obviously, away from home. Another London derby. Those London derbies are exhausting, and it's annoying to have to play those. Arsenal, of course, as well. So it's a very defining opening set of fixtures for them as well. And again, we will find out who both of them are for different reasons. I'm going to switch. I'm going to go Nottingham Forest in 14th, because I think they've got a settled team and a lot of energy in there. And I think they'll find enough goals overall. And then I'm going to put West Ham down one into 15th. 13th spot, Crystal Palace. Now, there are so many question marks over Crystal Palace. And it's going to come down to the next couple of weeks for them as well, because it's a lean, it's a light club and squad. It's a well-run club, which is why I've got them as high as I have. And it's one where obviously there's an element of frustration for Crystal Palace, because they don't want to be 13th and 12th. They want to push on. And actually, when you look at them, the first 11, you've got a squad there that is really, really good, and importantly, a manager as well. And the market value I thought was really interesting. When you click on market value, Wharton, Eze, Gay, Mateta, all have been linked with a move away. And that's the horrible thing when it comes to Crystal Palace. But it is getting closer to that deadline. Who's going to make a move? Are they going to be able to hang on to them? Parish has spoken about the fact that if Mark Gay doesn't sign that contract, then look, they need to get some money out of them. So he understands where they are. They've got Conference League qualifiers and, of course, you'd hope, the competition as well to navigate. And with a thin squad, they need to be ready to move. Again, I presume that they are. You know, you look at this, there's essentially around, you know, close to, this is the market value, but like how much would you actually get for Adam Wharton right now, Eze right now, and Gay, in particular Wharton, people have spoken about, you know, upwards of 80 million. So you've got like nearly 200 million in transfer fees available to you if you bring them in, but of course you've then got to get them right. I just don't know who's going to be there and who's not going to be there, and because of that I've had to put them in the middle of the Premier League this year. But if they keep all three of those, I would have them much higher, because the talent is there and they know what they are, both from a stylistic point of view and as a club as a whole. And they know it's a special time as a club. So hopefully they can continue and foster that and keep these players there, because if they can, I think there's another exciting season there for Palace, but I just can't see them all sticking around. And the loss of someone like Eze from a creativity point of view, and you know, the chance creation that he does create for the likes of Mateta and Sarr, I just feel like that's a big loss. In 12th spot, I had them in 11th, and then this morning I've had to make a tweak. But Bournemouth are in 12th spot for me, and the one thing that I think is so crucial for them is that, again, like a lot of teams in the Premier League, there's not that many badly run clubs anymore, or it feels like it at least. Bournemouth are continuing in the right direction, and I think they knew they were going to lose some of those players. That back line has been somewhat decimated, but I'm kind of leaning on the fact that they will rejuvenate that squad in time. And from like the midfield line onwards, it's still a really exciting team. Still got Semenyo, still got Tavernier, still got Kluivert, you've still got Evan Nilsson, Unal, you've still got a lot of players. And the midfield I really, really like as well. I think I've said it a couple of seasons now, but I've always been a huge fan of someone like Adam Scott. I think Christie's a great player for them. Tyler Adams is a really underrated player for them as well. But the main thing is they kept Areola. And keeping Areola will allow them to, I think, continue in that mid-table vein. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the problem places. And you can see who they are and how they play here. From the shots on target, they were 4th in the league for that. The attacking aspects of the game were really strong. 5th for XG last season as well. Another one that's really important here, 5th for accurate long balls per match. Now, that is one of the losses. And that comes from Kerkez and Huijsen. That left-hand side, 2 of those guys have gone. Diakite comes in, not exactly the same as Huijsen. And so I think there will be an element of drop-off there. Kepa's gone as well. So as I say, like half the team, that defensive side of it, of course, they defend from the front, so maybe they'll be okay. And I think they'll be okay overall with another team that's had another year in the Premier League. But I don't think they'll kind of push into those top areas like they have previously. Nice solid mid-table season for Bournemouth for me. So the team that's moved up a spot is because of a new signing today, and there could be more new signings still on the way. And I've gone for Everton. I just really like the feeling around Everton. I think going into the new stadium, this whole situation with Everton, which is absolutely honks of a good David Moyes season, if that makes sense. I think in terms of the squad, they've trimmed the fat. You can see there was a lot of players that just needed to move on if they'd done well for the club or hadn't done well for the club. The likes of Ashley Young, obviously not getting any younger. Begovic obviously needed to go. Doucouré was the right time. He was a high earner. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, similar thing. A lot of players making their way out of the team. And so what's really interesting, of course, and the reason why I've changed it is that Grealish is on his way. Breaking news. I think this is just a lovely, soulful move for the Premier League this season. I think in a World Cup year, he can go there, enjoy himself. And as I say, they've trimmed the fat of this squad. And now you've got a lot of players that, I think broadly, you can like the bulk of them. I do. I think that Jordan Pickford, Travers has come in. He's one of those ones where, good solid backup there. Jake O'Brien, Tarkowski, Branthwaite, Mikolenko. Also, Asnu's come in, who I quite like as a player from an attacking point of view. Dewsbury Hall, you know what you're going to get, and he can play in loads of different positions. James Garner, exactly the same. So there's not loads of numbers. Dwight McNeil can win you a game. Iliman Ndiaye, I think, is going to continue to be absolutely crucial for this team. And you've kind of got 2, hard-working, physical strikers up top. So there's so much to like. You add in Grealish, you add in David Moyes in a new stadium where the fans are so excited about a new start. You add in quite possibly Tyler Dibbling, and all of a sudden you've got a really solid 11 there that I think will be horrible to play against, will play with a pace and a flair that people will enjoy. And I think it will overall be a great first season for Everton in the new stadium.
We're officially launching the JLA Tactics board. I have had so many questions about this, and you've seen it. You've seen it on the JLA channel, you've seen it on the Printy.
Next up, Fulham. Now, no one's talking about Fulham, but I think they're going to have a really solid season because of the continuity that they've got in their team, and for one crucial reason. So let's have a look at the squad firstly. What's really great about this squad is that you kind of got, generally, you've got 2 banks of players, 2 players in every position. And look, Iwobi and Smith Rowe can obviously come into these areas as well. You've got a lot of players who can play in different areas of the pitch, a few different profiles here and there, but a lot of players that are kind of similar. And so that allows, generally, over the course of the season, for everyone to get minutes and everyone to get games. And that's the key reason when it comes to Fulham that I've put them in 10th. I like the continuity. But I like both the age and the experience of this team. First of all, in terms of experience, no team has had more games per player. So on average, 116 games per player. That is the most in the Premier League by 3 games. And so with that, you'd probably think that Fulham are ancient, but they're not. Let's have a look at their last pre-season game, and you can see, if you click here, you can see the age of this squad, and in the top left, 28.2 is the average age of this final 11 against, who did they play? Eintracht Frankfurt. And you can see this is pretty much the kind of team that they would look to play in that opening game. So like for like from last season. So you've got that continuity there, and that's with Joshua King, who's a really exciting player to keep an eye on this year, who's just 18. So he's someone to watch this year, with the fact that he's obviously playing this initial game or the last game going into the new season. But I just like Fulham. We know what they're about. We know how they play. You know Robinson's going to bomb on down that left-hand side. You know they've got technical quality. You know they've got someone like Jimenez, who's probably, not going to go anywhere, and you might get another year out of him. Maybe you can bring in another striker. Is Muniz going to get pinched? That might be one problem. But I actually think they'll pick up some gems as well before the end of the window. And so I like Fulham, and I think they've got a solid set of pros. It's a very Fulham, top level of Fulham, with the Damien Duff years. It's that kind of squad, and I think they'll have a good year. I think they finish 10th. Right, 9th spot, and it's a team that I think most fans will accept that they're in this position. Maybe they won't, but also they're disappointed with the summer. It's been a disastrous summer for Newcastle United, and I've got some bad news and some good news. So let's start with the bad news, and I'll give you the good news, if you're able to get this player. So Alexander Isak, of course, is the story of the summer, and he could well be the story of the winter and the season for Newcastle this year because of the influence they had last year. It is a massive hole in this team if you lose Alexander Isak at the time of recording. Of course, he's not gone to Liverpool. You wonder if it will happen. You expect that it will happen, really. And of course, you're losing your top scorer, the amount of goals and assists. Also, link up with Jacob Murphy, I think. It's a big part of his assists. He's been assisting Alexander Isak. So can you plug and play that? Probably not overall. But can you continue to kind of grow as a team and it not be a total car crash? Absolutely. And one player that it seems like Newcastle are confident in getting and who definitely wants to go there, well, there's two. There's Nicholas Jackson. There's also Yohan Wissa. And Yohan Wissa is another one where I think a lot of people will kind of go, oh, he's not really up to it. But he is a goal scorer for a team that likes to break with intensity. And so in terms of him stepping in and being a fit, yes, he's not 6'4", stunning striker in the sense of like everything you'd want as a football fan. It is misleading, but Brentford go for those kind of players, and the goals that he scores and the areas in which he scores them, every different corner. And look, right-footed goals, he's got a few there, you can see. Left-footed goals. So he's scoring with both his right and his left foot. That, for me, is a really good sign. Did you have a shot from there? That's mental. The facts are, when we are recording right now, all seems lost. But this will be a Newcastle side that will have a lot of money to spend if it happens. And if it doesn't, then you've got Alexander Isak. And he will still have to bite down and play. He'll have to get on with it. Will that have a ripple effect on the rest of the team? Who knows? But this is a well-run club with a manager that is absolutely loved. They've got Champions League this year. That is the sort of sad part in all of this, is that half of the work was done in terms of trimming the fat and hopefully trying to lift the ceiling of this group, but it's not been able to be done. And that's why I think there will be a drop-off, maybe even a tricky start to the season, especially with Champions League football as part of that. But I expect reinforcements. There's a good team in there as well. And I think as long as they get away with not having too many injuries, I think they'll still be okay. I mean, 9th isn't where they want to be, but I don't think 9th is a disaster for Newcastle, in my opinion. In 8th spot, I'm going to go for Brighton, who dropped from 7th spot this morning as well. Let's have a look at their squad. This is the reason why I think they will do well this year. First of all, no Europe. Second of all, look at the squad depth that they've got. A lot of these players might go out on loan, who knows. One development, Vaiva does seem to be the right back of choice this year instead of midfield, and there are a lot of midfield options. We still don't know what's happening with Baleba at the moment, but overall the the floor is pretty high. The potential's certainly there. You've got some new signings in Kostas Simas as well, a Greek pair. Welbeck, I think, has definitely got another year in him. And two players I really want to highlight, O'Reilly and Rutter, who I think will be the starting kind of forward pair, but there's so much fluidity to this team. I'm intrigued to see how they set up and if Baleba is there, and because I really think Neve was talking about this. She thinks he could have a big year this year, and I think it makes a lot of sense as he continues to kind of grow up, and that's why probably Manny and I want to get him now before he's too big of a deal. Reinforcements in centre-back as well. Webster's just gone down with a bad injury, which is a shame. Scagli's come in. Eagle's a really good player. Dunk starting to maybe get a little bit older, but you've got Van Hecke as a really great player as well. Gomez can fill in, I think, at centre-back as well. So lots of options all over the pitch. No Europe. Pace. Minte as well, I expect to have a good season this year. I think the ripening of the bulk of the squad will be nice to see. I think it's going to be a big year for Herslan. I think they'll do well. 7th spot, I put them up this morning after a bit of deliberation. I'm going to go for Tottenham. in 7th. Of course, they've got to deal with Champions League football. Some big injuries already going into the season. Maddison and Kulusevski and Solanke, which does worry me. But I'm backing Frank. I am backing Frank. I think it'd be one where maybe it won't be as outrageously exciting, but he does want his teams to play on the front foot. And I was looking at kind of his win percentage, because of course the difficult thing with Tottenham is what they did last season in the league. It was really weird, wasn't it? But generally, the managers that have done okay, they've had a sort of 50% win ratio. And as you can see, look, Postecoglou is falling miles off it. And you can see from the positions in the league, they are generally around this area of 5th to 8th, right? So I like Frank. I back Frank, Thomas Frank. I think he'll do really well. So question is, and a question for you as well, can he get a 50% win ratio? I think he can. I think he's got so much more kind of weaponry for him to utilize, a lot of potential in those players. He makes players better. He makes teams function better. He wins that XG battle. He's more pragmatic, but also on the front foot with it. I really, really like him. And so if he can get that 50% win ratio, that's about 57 points. If you can get 57 points last year, 61 points got you 8th. The last 3 or 4 seasons, around 60, 61 will get you 8th spot. So add a couple of draws in there. I think all in all, Frank will have a good, solid first season. I think the stock of a lot of players will return to a higher level. And I think all in, finishing 7th in your first season at Tottenham, I think there'll be cause for optimism going into next summer. Whereas this year, it does feel a little bit like a powder keg. But I think Frank can absorb that. Right, we're into the top 6 now. Lots of exciting signings to discuss. But I'd like to discuss you signing for Team JLA. The JLA Substack is a new place for our community. You know how special our community is. So if you want that next level of analysis from our tactical writers, or one-on-one conversations with myself where I can maybe give a little bit of advice, or we can talk about questions that I don't get to talk about on this channel, then come and sign for Team JLA. The JLA Substack, there's a link in the description. Thanks for listening. Right, let's get into this. Top 6. I'm going for Man United to make one hell of a jump up in the league. And I'm nervous about doing this. I never thought I'd get anywhere near putting them into 6th spot, but there are just so many elements here at play that I think will lend to Man United kind of picking themselves off the floor and starting to move up the table and play good football as well. This is a team that's going to play really fast attacking football, and there's a lot of youth in that team as well. No, Europe is a huge asset to Amorim. There's no excuses for him to not get this team playing the way he wants them to play. And the signings have been crucial. Have a look at this. So this is these are the goals in the Premier League last season. So this is essentially going to be your right wing back. So there's goals from this guy. This could be one of your 2 in a double pivot. So that's exciting as well. And then Garnacho, Højlund, Xerxes, there was nothing from an attacking point of view. Now, if we move on to the signings this season, the one thing you can be sure of, I think, this year is goals. Cunha and Burma and Seshko as a 3 in this system, I like it. I really like it. I think they're going to dovetail really nicely. I've really enjoyed lots of players actually for Man United in pre-season. I think Mason Mount looks rejuvenated. I think Bruno Fernandes continues to look great. I think that Yoro looks fantastic on that right-hand side. I think they're finding their feet. Dorgu, I really like as a left-back as well. And I think with all those pieces put together, I actually think it'll be a really optimistic, enjoyable season for Man United. Maybe the odd slapping here and there, but I think they will get... I think they'll pick themselves off the floor. Maybe I'm going too big for them. I don't know. But I think they've addressed a lot of crucial areas. If they can get themselves centre midfielder in Baleba, then I think they'll probably be in and around the same area. But I think there will be a lot of kind of hope by the end of this season for Man United fans. Well, that's my gut feeling anyway. Probably a shock for some people, but in 5th spot, I'm going to go for Aston Villa. I just really like this squad. I like the contract extensions that have occurred. We would like to have Kamara and Morgan Rogers a bit previously than that. And I think they've looked really good in pre-season. Retaining Martinez, like, is he going to stay? I don't know. But what a goalkeeper to have in this group. And again, it's the continuity that we've seen with some of these other clubs. They have retained it as well. And the signing of Gesson, that was exactly what they needed. They needed that backup. And he'll get games, obviously, in the Europa League. He can come play on his right-hand side as well. He's really good in the half space as well. He's a really fun, exciting player. He's got great finishing ability as well. You've got that backup striker now. Buendia's been really good in pre-season for this team. You've got Kamara and Tielemans and Onana. That's a really strong midfield. Rodgers, I know he's got an injury at the moment, but I think there's quality there. Will Ramsey go? Maybe you say this squad's a little bit light, but I think generally you've got two good players in most positions. The right back, maybe you can, maybe you could add another player there. I don't know, but I quite like Cash. Consta's one of the best centre backs in the league, in my opinion. Pau Torres, I really enjoy. Mings, you've got that leadership there. Martinez, we know, is a really, really good goalkeeper. And Watkins, I think, will bang in the goals like he always does. So I think Aston Villa, going from Champions League last season to Europa League this season, I think it's something they're excited to be in that, and I think they might go and win that Europa League. That's why they might drop off a little bit, and I think the top four may be just a little bit too far ahead of them anyway. But I think it'll be a really good season. Unai Emery's got what he wants. I think Marlon will score a lot of goals on this side. They'll focus down this left-hand side and then work their way in, and they've got a lot of talented players there, a lot of men, a lot of pros, a lot of experience. So I think Aston Villa are going to have a good season this year. I feel good about them, and I think they'll finish 5th. In 4th spot, I've got the world champions, Chelsea. This was tough, and actually a couple of days ago I was kind of flirting with the fact that they could well do it. And actually, first thing I will say is I think they'll be incredibly close to getting over 80 points. And the recruitment has been really strong. Obviously, the squad is enormous, as we know, but the quality is really there. They remind me a little bit of Arsenal in 22-23, where it's like they're kind of young and excited, but they're together. And obviously, having won the Club World Cup, that's huge for them. Bringing in the likes of Pedro, who I think is going to have an enormously good season, and having him and Delap as that front two. Jackson, will he go? I imagine they'll probably try and cash in on him at some point, but the depth there from the attacking point of view is huge. That was a problem last season. The star quality of Palmer, Caicedo, there's so much quality in there. Neto's gone to a new level recently. I think he'll have a huge season. One question mark is, with Madueke going out, Bino Gittins coming in, how much of an upgrade is that on the left-hand side? Time will tell, but they obviously sold him for a reason, and his market value is very high. Ogachukwu, you've gone, son, so we'll let you go over there.